here today. And then we've got the Green Gold postgame show live at Burkle's one block over coming up on Sunday night. And we'll get into all of that coming up here in a little bit. We got a lot going on today. Today we are a couple of different things, as a matter of fact. Today, I'm going to talk about the upcoming game. But today's a special day. Today we've got Jerry Kramer is going to join us. The Hall of Famer has a new book out. And we're going to go over the book and talk a little Lombardi Packers and how he's doing. So we'll talk with Jerry Kramer coming up a little bit later on today, and we'll get into all of that. Seren Petro, he is on Kansas City side. He is going to join us coming up. He is on Sports Radio 810 down in KC. He's going to be joining us as well. So we'll get the eye on the enemy, so to speak. And what time is he coming on today, Grant?
He'll be out at high noon.
High noon, a couple hours from now. So Seren Petro is going to be here. So we'll chat with him and get his take. I was watching the NFL Network this morning, and they went through a very detailed breakdown of the Packers and the Chiefs. And we were talking yesterday about Joe Barry and the defense. And one of the things that two statistics stood out to me when they started going over this, and I was looking at all of this matchup stuff last night. And one is the Packers have the sixth best pass rushing defense in the National Football League. Did you know that, Grant?
The Packers have the sixth best pass rushing defense?
Sixth best at putting quarterbacks under pressure. Now, it's not the highest amount of sacks, but putting quarterbacks under pressure, the sixth best pass rush in the National Football League. I never would have guessed that.
If that's true, then you would think that these last 5 or 6 games, I bet the sack totals jump because they've been doing the good things. They've been getting pressure a lot the last couple of weeks, but it hasn't always translated to sacks. So maybe that luck is ready to swing around.
So that was a number that I went, I didn't know that. Remember, that was a concentration coming into the season when Brian Gutekunst kept talking about pressure. And then obviously saying, hey, we got the talent. Kind of in a backhanded way, pointing the finger at Joe Barry. The other statistic that is nowhere near as good is quarterbacks throwing intermediate passes against the Packers defense. They have the fifth most success against the Green Bay Packers. The Packers give up fifth most intermediate passes of 10 to 20 yards in the National Football League. The most. Over the middle, the most. So if it's quick outs, the Packers sniff it out. If it's down the field, the Packers have been successful. It's the 10 to 20-yard passes down the middle that have exposed this team, that have really cost this team more than anything. But when they said sixth best pass rush and fifth worst defense when it comes to intermediate passes, I'm like, how does that go hand in hand in some way? You know, it doesn't seem like that's the way it should be, but that's the Packers defense. And I just found it really interesting. By the way, the analytics and the something Eric Eager was a part of years ago when Eric was part of the predictionmachine.com, when they built the, I think it was out of the University of Cincinnati, actually. They built the prediction machine is what they called it, but it runs games 50,000 times. And 56%, which is a smaller percentage than I thought, 56% of the runs say the average score is going to be 25-20 Chiefs. And so I thought about that. I thought, well, wait a minute. That's not bad. They're predicting Travis Kelce is going to have 64 yards and a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 255 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jordan Love's going to throw for 230 yards and 1 touchdown and 1 pick. That's what came out of the prediction machine. I found it fascinating this morning watching this thing and how this thing would unfold. And my thought was, okay, where does the pick come from? And is it something that bounces off the hands of a receiver, or is it a bad pass? They also said that, one of the better matchups in this contest is not necessarily going to be Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, but because Rashee Rice has become kind of the go-to guy. His first 100-yard receiving game last week, he has really come on. He's become kind of a favorite of Patrick Mahomes. So who's going to stop him? Because he can then take the pressure off Travis Kelce as well if he starts to get open and starts to kind of get back at it. But then who's going to be covering Christian Watson? And how are they going to handle him? Is it going to be Jalen Watson? Is it going to be probably L'Jarius Sneed is going to be the guy? And he's had a lot of success again. He had some success against Devontae Adams. So they predict he will have more success against Christian Watson if indeed he draws the coverage. So just really interesting stuff going into this contest. The Packers, for the most part, are favored to lose. But if it ends up 25-20, is that a competitive game? Is that what we were talking about yesterday? So got all that to hash out today. Did we get a hold of our buddy Kevin Holden by any chance?
Texted, and I'm hoping to get him on here in the next hour or two, but I'm not sure yet.
Because I'd love to talk to Kevin. I'm sitting here today. I was scrolling through this morning Facebook, and I saw Kevin. He had posted some pictures, and Kevin not only covers all the sports, in the area, obviously for CBS 58 in Milwaukee, but he's huge. He does the Deportes baseball play-by-play, and very much a huge baseball fan. So I thought, you know what, I want to get him on because I want to get his opinion on what's going on. We haven't talked to him since Craig Counsell made the announcement that he's leaving, and we have not talked to him at all since the offseason began to unfold. So I want to touch base with him and kind of pick his brain on all of this as well. So all of that today on a Football Friday edition. And then tomorrow you've got the big game out in Madison. You've got the number 3 ranked Marquette Golden Eagles, and they are just playing some spectacular basketball, knocked off the number 1 team in the country, lost to, the number 2 team in the country, right? They lost to Purdue. Correct me if I'm wrong. They lost by 2 to Purdue.
Yeah, close, really good comeback, but fell short against Purdue. So
now they go out to the Kohl Center this weekend, and they take on the Badgers. And the Badgers, this is a big game for the Badgers because, one, obviously it's an in-state rivalry, and we know the blood that is not thick between these two, schools. But also, this is kind of that looking over the fence litmus test for that Badgers ball club as well, because there's expectations this year for Greg Gard that, hey, top 4, top 5 in the Big Ten, get in the tournament, do a little damage. That's what people are like. Look, not making the tournament, ending up 7th, 8th, 9th in a Big Ten. Nope, not going to happen. There's a lot of people that are saying this is it. Prove it this year. I live by the, let's see what the litmus test and the eyeball test tells you, but let's see what happens. So this big game is it kind of I would assume that there's a lot of anticipation for tomorrow out in Madison, Grant.
Yeah, I hate Marquette on this day of the year so much. I can't stand this game. If the Badgers lose tomorrow, it's not going to ruin my weekend, but it's going to detract from my weekend. Yes.
What do you think the chances are Marquette does not win this contest then?
Well, I was talking to someone. I went to a concert with Ebo last night, and one of the people in our group was a big Marquette fan. And he's like, oh, we're going to get you Saturday. And I said, hey, the Kohl Center on a Saturday afternoon, that's where top-ranked teams come to die. Yeah. Well, at least that used to be the case. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure it's the case anymore. But like in 2015, the Kohl Center is the place where ranked teams come to die. And this rivalry, it never really seems to matter. Like last year, the Badgers had no business winning at Fiserv. So I think you need to throw the records out a little bit with this one. But Marquette is certainly the better team right now.
Okay. We can, Marquette is the better team, but I'm anxious for this game tomorrow. I'm looking for, there's a lot of good stuff going on tomorrow. God, it's like this sports plethora. And by the way, the one thing we didn't even mention, how bad did the Bucks play last night? That was a game they should have never lost against a bad team down in Chicago. They let them, again, get a lead, let them come back, let them hang around, let them start to feel their oats, play some really, really poor defense, although that spectacular block by Giannis down the stretch was just awesome. But played some poor defense, allowed them to get outside open looks, and next thing you know, you're losing a ball game in overtime to a team you had no business, that shouldn't even have been on the same floor with you. You had no business losing to, and now you got to come home tomorrow night and face Atlanta. So tomorrow you've got Wisconsin Marquette, And then you've got all the championships tomorrow, the conference championship games in football. Looking forward to the SEC, looking forward to the Big Ten. All of those games taking place tomorrow. Bucks basketball tomorrow night and Packers football on Sunday night. It's a banner weekend. I love this weekend.
We get a little bit of a treat tonight, too, because we have Oregon-Washington. The Pac-12 championship is tonight, which I like because then that kind of sets the stage for tomorrow. Right. Bill, if a couple of specific teams win this weekend, the committee is going to have a miserable time if this falls a certain way. They're going to have like 4 spots for 6 teams.
That's just it, is that there is just all of this talk about who should and shouldn't be in. And I was watching it this morning, and I was listening to the Paul Feinbaum show yesterday. And because, I like Paul. Paul's got an opinion, and there's guys he clearly doesn't like, and I understand that. But all in all, it's like, man, when you look at the rankings in the BCS with Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and such, and Florida State, Oregon, Ohio State on the outside looking in, same with Texas and Alabama. And then the argument is, well, if Georgia loses to Alabama, so Georgia fall out and Alabama, no. First of all, I don't see, unless all top 4 lose, I don't see how Alabama should be allowed to get in to the Final Four. Do you? Is there any way that should happen?
If Bama beats Georgia, you still have a really hard time holding Georgia out because they're the defending champs. And they've won a million games in a row. But then do you tell Alabama, you just knocked off Georgia, but you don't get in? But then if Bama gets in, what do you tell Texas? It's like, well, Texas beat Bama in Tuscaloosa. So you're going to have 2 or 3 teams at the end of this, depending on who wins this week, looking around saying, what the hell? How do we not get in? And, in the middle of it all, there's a Washington team that might go undefeated and a Florida State team that might go undefeated, but no one really thinks those 2 teams are as good as Texas, Oregon, Bama. It's a mess, which is fun, but this is extra messy. This might be a little bit too
I'll
much.
say this, no undefeated team from a Power 5 and there's only 4 of them, no undefeated team. And if they win the conference championship game, no undefeated team from a Power 5 should be left out of the top 4. None.
Agreed.
Well, absolutely 100% none. I don't give a damn about all the schedules. They can only play who they can play. Now, where people want to knock Michigan is because Michigan didn't play a great out-of-conference schedule. So I understand that. So if Michigan should, by some weird circumstance, lose to Iowa, absolutely they can fall out of the top 4. But this whole thing about forcing Alabama, 2 things. One is, Georgia is a juggernaut, and they've been tremendous in 23, 24 straight games. I get that. But the only thing you can judge them on is their performance this season. That's it. Stetson Bennett's no longer there, and he was a big part of the reason that they won games last year. And so he's not even their quarterback. It's a new group of guys. It's a new face. It is what it is. So what they've done in previous seasons, I get it. It's great to say it's a statistic, but it can't have a bearing on this season. So that's first and foremost. But this whole thing about, well, Alabama would be a better 1-loss team than, say, Florida State, who lost their quarterback, and they beat Florida, and they're going to beat Louisville, and Louisville beat a pedestrian Kentucky team. And I don't care. Florida State coming out of the ACC, a Power 5, undefeated, and losing their quarterback, they deserve to be there. That's it. Florida State's earned the right. Let them prove it, and if you're wrong and they get drilled, then so be it. Then later on down the road, you can say they didn't belong to be there. But I go back to when Luke Fickell was coaching Cincinnati, and everybody was saying Cincinnati has no business being there. And they went toe-to-toe with Alabama. They went right down to the wire with them. They absolutely, positively showed that they could play with some of the big boys. They didn't win the game, but they didn't get drilled like everybody thought. I mean, people were predicting that game like 42-7, and they went toe-to-toe with them. So leave Florida State alone. If Florida State wins, then so be it. Florida State's in. The Washington thing, like you said, by the time Washington, then you got Oregon. If Oregon beats Washington and then Washington falls out, should then, like Ohio State, jump in? Or Texas, if they win, should they jump in? It is going to make the committee unbelievably uncomfortable, and there's going to be a lot of arguing. But what I don't want to see is an undefeated big Power 5 team not make the top 4 just because they feel that some team might be better. Because you can't do that. You can only go by the results that you have, what they have on the field, and you got to be able to say they beat these teams And all they did was play their schedule, and you're going to penalize them for playing their schedule. So I'm looking forward to the weekend and the arguments that are going to be coming up on Sunday. I'm excited about that too. So that is today. That's today. Let's do this. Pac fan says a one-loss Alabama team that beats Georgia is absolutely getting in over an undefeated FSU team. ACC is junk, but that's okay. But they're a Power 5 conference, and I cannot see in any way, shape, or form if Florida State wins that game that Florida State doesn't get in. That would be a travesty.
The games have to matter. The games that have been played have to matter. It can't just be about who has the best players and who has the best deep. Like the games that we've watched all year have to matter to a certain degree.
And he says it's the committee that's going to want the brand of Alabama over FSU without their quarterback. It's all about TV ratings. If that's the case, then get rid of this. I heard this also. I was listening. God, I don't know where I heard it. I was listening to another radio show, and they said that the actions of the committee have proven over the years they're liars and hypocrites. And I was like, damn, that's strong language. And he said, and just exactly what Pac fan said, it's about the brand. It's not about the quality of win. It's not about the quality of school coming in. It's about the brand. What brand is going to draw TV ratings? And if that's the case, then why are we even arguing about it? Just put then just make it Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Georgia. Just make it that every year. Just regardless of the record, just make it that way every year, because those are the big schools that either people love or hate. You can maybe throw in like a West Coast team, you put UCLA or USC there, because the West Coast just thrives on those two schools. Then you draw in the LA market, which is the second largest television market in the country. Just give them a walk. No matter what Lincoln Riley does and Caleb Williams, a star, he's a brand, then just put them in. Even though they've got losses, put them in. Or you want to go with the biggest brand in football, give Colorado a pass. Because, obviously they got the biggest brand and the most watchability, and they've had some of the highest television ratings so far this season. Some of the biggest games have been Colorado because people have paid or wanted to watch, I should say, Deion Sanders on the sideline. Just do that. Which that's the biggest brand. So if you're going to be a hypocrite all the way. Don't guise it as, well, we're going to look at the point spreads and we're going to look at this and this. No. You're completely unveiling what it is you're doing. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. They have got good food and they got a hell of a wine selection, and it's a fun place, and they got a lot of stuff going on this weekend as well, and the TVs are going to be up and running. You better damn well believe it. Prospect Avenue in Pewaukee, that is Sunset Grill. Tell Sarah and the whole staff over there Merry Christmas, and we say hello, and we'll get over there and see them really soon. But that's Sunset Grill in Pewaukee, and I just saw that they were doing a lot of different stuff. They got an employee party, or not an employee party, but a customer appreciation party coming up for Christmas. They have got the bingo is back. They have got all kinds of different stuff going on over there. Check them out on Facebook. Check them out on Instagram. Sunset Grill, Pewaukee Lake.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no, pay later. Oh.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offer ends 12/31/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Hearts of fire, streets of stone, modern warriors, satellite horses of chrome, taste the wild.
New Year's Eve, make your plans. Looks like, at least the way it's shaping up, like that game on New Year's Eve could matter for the Green Bay Packers. They play New Year's Eve, so we're going to have a watch party out at Boondocks Barbecue Burgers and Brews on County Road K in Oconomowoc. Go to boondocksbbqs.com. They're going to have music. They're going to have beverages, food, and then us. We're going to be there with the Green and Gold postgame show live from Boondocks as the Packers are second to last game of the season on New Year's Eve. So we're going to be there. So come on out. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a good time. And watch parties are always fun. You get a little music in the background. You get to watch the game. And you kind of come out and celebrate with us. Bring in the new year. Bring in 2024 with us, and hopefully with a Packers victory. So that's Boondocks Barbecue Burgers and Brews out in Oconomowoc. And you can really Stonebank, Wisconsin, but you can find them by going to Boondocks. Just look up Boondocks over on Facebook or Instagram and even Twitter and track them down there. So good stuff. 877-867-1670. You want to find us today? Do it. You can find us on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels, at Wisco Grant. If you want to get Grant Bills, track him down. Instagram, The Bill Michaels Show. You can also track us down on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. But YouTube, that's the place to watch each and every day. YouTube.com, and smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. It's absolutely free. YouTube.com/Bill Michaels Show. And you can track us down on Twitch TV. You can track us down on Kick TV under the same name, LinkedIn as well. We're everywhere. All the platforms. Got them all covered, including after the show, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever your podcasts are found. Let's see here. This is from quarterback Matt. He says, I'm also tired of college football rating teams before week 1 in the top 25. I have been saying that. I don't think teams should be ranked until the 3rd week of their conference season. So about week 5 or 6, halfway through the year, then rank them, much like they do with the BCS. I don't think they should do that because we have seen teams that have fallen, but if you start out as a team, say, ranked 26th, and then you climb into the top 25, well, that's great. But unless your schedule is a juggernaut and you went out, you are never going to reach number one or in the top 5, top 4. It doesn't happen. So I agree with you. I think it's a real lack of integrity when they get to that. I really do. It's a great way. I mean, don't get me wrong. For what we do, the discussion, completely, I love it. But I absolutely hate it. I think it's a byproduct of clickbait, for lack of a better term. It's something they've been doing for years and years and years. They're never going to change it. But I absolutely positively believe that you should not be ranked until you get into your conference season. Just doesn't happen. Shouldn't happen. 8-7, and you're right. And Pac fan says it's because they want to promote the upcoming games, number 1 against number 5, and absolutely, it's all about the money. All about the money. And we've seen this before, where teams have, gone through an entire season and have one loss, and they don't even get a sniff of the top 10. Because they're not a power conference, or they don't play an out of schedule that's strong enough for this and that, or they just started out low and nobody really expected them to be this good, but they're never going to climb over the ones that they did expect to be good that may have 1 or 2 losses. So it's a very, very, very corrupt season. Very corrupt season. And ranking system. I completely believe that. But they keep talking about the integrity. I don't know if you saw the interview that they did with, I don't know who the committee chairman is, but they did the interview with him, and he talked about the integrity of the process. Kept saying integrity over and over again. And I kept thinking, if that's your mantra, if that's the hill that you're going to die on, then first of all, I do believe that, look, if Georgia loses, unless they get dump trucked, if Georgia loses, Georgia's still there. Maybe they're number 4, but they're still there. But I cannot believe that if Michigan wins, Georgia loses, Florida State wins, and I don't even know that. I'm not sitting here looking at it. So let's say Washington wins, they're in. Michigan wins, they're in. Georgia loses, they fall to number 4. Florida State wins. Let's say Florida State loses. That means Oregon will have lost. Do you then put in Texas or Ohio State? Because there's no way Alabama should jump those 2 teams because they're ranked below them in the BCS, the college football playoff rankings. There's no way that Alabama should jump them because they're ranked less. Now, 1 more win would make them 12-1 as opposed to a team like Ohio State at 11-1. But what then happens? 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. So a lot to talk about. A lot of stuff to talk about. Let's do this. We started off the program talking about the Packers defense. Number 6th in the National Football League at putting pressure on quarterbacks, but number 5 in the league at giving up intermediate passes. Something's got to give. We're going to hear from the man that engineers that defense coming up here next. Joe Barry, you're going to hear that conversation that he had with the media. That will be coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show. This portion of the program brought to you by friends at Quick Trip. Don't forget, if you're going to be heading up north, heading to tailgate parties and such on Sunday night, Quick Trip, stop in, whether it's the beer cave, getting some things to grill, maybe just picking up some buns, or you just want salsas, chips, cheese, whatever it happens to be, or you just want to grab a burger yourself just so you can go walk around the parking lots. Stop in at Quick Trip, and you can get registered to win a Chevy Colorado pickup truck, compliments of Quick Trip and the Green Bay Packers. How about that? Good stuff from our friends over there at Quick Trip.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
No, she can't. Welcome back. I know it's if you got your boat out, maybe you got it winterized, and you're looking at it going, man, I don't want snow all over it. I don't want to get critters up in it. Nah. Maybe your cover's looking all ratty and torn. If it's winterized, drag it up north. Drag it up to our buddy Dwayne at Dwayne's, Duanes, Dwayne's at coveritall.com. Dwayne's coveritall.com, and he does everything from boat covers, bimini tops, upholstery, to awnings out in front of your business, the awnings over, say, a patio, gym equipment, office furniture, so much more. I mean, whatever it is you need, he can do it and does it fantastic. He's the best. He's absolutely the best. Hands down. I've had him do the seats in my boat, the seats in the RV. I had him do a couple of chairs around the house. I mean, just all, and plus boat covers and the bimini top. He built from scratch the bimini top. I mean, it's all fantastic. 715-870-2119. 715-870-2119. That is Dwayne's CoverItAll.com. That's Dwayne's CoverItAll.com. Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, had this to say meeting with the media. Here it is.
So how do you get ready for Mahomes now? I mean, the guy's seen it all, right? He's got like every skill imaginable. So like, where do you start?
I'd be lying to you if I said it wasn't hard. I do think, Sean Clifford's given us a great look this week as, as far as a guy that's, I think what makes Patrick so good, other than he's got insane arm talent. As you said, he's played a ton of football. You're not going to fool him. It's the things that he can do when everything breaks down. It's hard to create that on the practice field. You try. We try to create scramble opportunities when our guys don't know that they're when it's happening. And like I said, Clifford's done a good job of trying to create that for us this week. But it's hard because a lot of that stuff you might have from a passing game standpoint, you might have the initial route covered, but then it's when everything. I mean, they do such a great job where. It sure looks like, all 5 eligibles are completely coordinated and organized and know what he's doing when things break down and he creates. So it is hard. You got to talk about it. You got to preach it. You got to attempt to work on that in practice, but it's hard to create those specific looks. And, he's one of the all-time greatest, he being Patrick, at creating that and doing that.
Matt has scramble rules for the offense, right? Are those pretty universal throughout the league? Does every offense kind of change that? And what are scramble rules for the defense?
Well, I would say yes. I think every offense has when that does happen, when everything breaks down and the quarterback goes, I think offensive guys talk about going off schedule. Of course they have it, but I mean, you got to have a guy that is elusive enough to be able to buy time and stay alive without getting sacked. And then, I think the thing that makes him and them so different is the arm talent that he can, throw with such not only velocity, but accuracy. And not only when he's naturally going to his right, but also, I mean, he's just as effective when he moves and goes to his left. It's incredibly unique, and he's special at it, no doubt.
Joe, how does it change when a tight end is the dominant target?
Yeah.
In a passing game?
It changes a lot just because I don't want to say it's easier to double or take away someone on the outside. It's just a little bit different, the closer you get to the core. You can work through all those things, but I mean, it's, the thing that it's really amazing to watch just the connection that those two have. I'm talking about 87 and 15. It truly is amazing how in sync they are. And it doesn't matter if they're playing zone coverage, if they're trying to play man on Kelsey, or if they even have doubles on him. It's amazing the connection that the two of those guys have. It's frustrating to watch. There's no doubt.
How do you strike the balance between defending Patrick Mahomes, who can make all throws, can push the ball, but they also have a lot of short area throws with guys who can pick up yards after the catch? How do you strike that balance between those?
Sure. Well, I think that that kind of leads into, I think adding Pacheco, number 10 to their offense. I think that has brought a complete different element, not only in the run game, but also in the intermediate and the short passing game, the screen game. And that's, that's why I think the Chiefs are so good and they're so difficult to defend. It's not just one thing that you have to take away. They got, obviously the quarterback's a massive part. They have good young wideouts. They have obviously a Hall of Fame tight end. And then, as I mentioned, this back that they've kind of incorporated in the last 2 years brings a whole nother element that you have to worry about and defend.
All this said, and the Chiefs have been showing it for a long time, so they're held to this different standard, but they haven't been at that standard this season, 3 straight second halves.
Yeah.
Point. That's just not something they do. What have you seen there as far as why? I guess it's a different standard for them. But why they haven't been at that place?
Yeah, I don't know. I know Patrick's, in my opinion, playing at the level that he's always played. I think it's not that they've ever, even a few years ago, not that they were ever, going to surprise people, but I mean, they're the defending world champs. I mean, people are, they're going to get everyone's absolute best every single week, which you would think that would be the case regardless. But they're not going to sneak up on anybody and surprise anybody. So, but honestly, I can't answer why, why, I have no idea, but they're number 15 still pretty dang special.
Joe, what has Jair shared with you about just what he's going through this year, trying to get back on the field?
Well, I'm never gonna, I'll always keep that, near and dear to me and him. But, you're talking about a guy that is highly competitive, and arguably, the best at his craft at his position. So, he wants to be out there. It's been great. He's had 2 pretty good days, yesterday and today. So that it's exciting because as I've told you, when you're fortunate to have an elite great player, you obviously, we and him, want him out there, and he wants to be out there. So, we just take it day by day. And like I said, I think I've told you guys before, when you're talking about a player that's dealing with something, I know as a coach, he might have a great Wednesday. You just hope, okay, when he comes in Thursday, he still feels good. And we just take it day by day. Like I said, he had a good day yesterday, came in, felt good today, had a good day today. So hopefully that continues, and he has a great Friday tomorrow.
Joe, by the percentages, you haven't been a real big pressure guy as far as sending a lot of guys, what have you. But it seemed like Thursday against the Lions, when you did, it was really effective. Like there's one in particular where you send Quay up the middle.
Yeah.
It's very clear they were not ready for it or expecting it. Goff has to throw it away. How much of that is tendency based, and how much of that is you feeling it on game day?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's a little bit of both. I think you always go into a game no different on the offensive side of the ball. They have all your percentages and all those things. We have all of theirs. We self-scout ourselves just like they self-scout us. But then also I think in the course of the game, it's field-based as well. I think in a perfect world, especially the way we were rushing just with 4 last week, just winning one-on-one rushes. That's a nice problem to have because you don't have to rely on it. But then when you can choose to bring 5 or 6, whether the percentages show to do that or just the feel in the course of the game, it's nice when it worked out. But that was only thing that would have been better if Quay would have been able to sack him. But he had to dirt the ball, so it was effective.
Do guys chime in at all, like on the headset or next to you? Like, we should send this guy now or anything like that?
Oh, of course. You talking about from a staff standpoint? Yeah, we have a great game day open line of communication. As far as me and the entire staff, and we're constantly talking. Not necessarily so much during a series, but definitely in between series. I think the 8 of us have a great rapport, and I totally welcome that. We talk about anything and everything as the course of the game's going on.
I'm guessing you're not going to tell us who's going to start at safety, but what does that decision come down to?
Well, I think it comes down to a lot of things. And no, to answer your question, I'm not. But it comes down to, preparation, the week's practice, the overall health of everybody. So, but I will say it's nice, as we talked about with Ja yesterday and today. It's been nice having Sav out there and Rudy back out there. And same thing I said, they had a really good Wednesday, and you just keep your fingers crossed that they feel good when they come in on Thursday, and they did. So hopefully we have another great compliment and another great day tomorrow on Friday.
Joe, what kind of luxury has it been to have Jonathan, though? Because there aren't a lot of teams that are going to have, a 17-game starter from a previous season to return to.
Yeah, I think it's big. I think it's, of course, the veteran player. I think it's when you got a guy that comes to you, and Jonathan started out the year as a backup, but he was a guy that was a backup, whether he was our third or fourth safety, whatever. He was a guy that had, specifically, at least last year, he had played a ton of ball. So there's only one way to truly get that experience as a player, and you have to play. It's great to practice, and it's great to get mental reps and all those things, which you have to do. But when you actually have logged game experience, it's crucial. So it was, and Jonathan's he's been a stud the whole time since he's been here. Just one of those guys, just embracing whatever his role is. When he truly was a starter in waiting, he, did a great job on special teams for us. And then every position that we've asked him to play, or every role that we've asked him to do, he's done it full speed. So it's pretty cool.
I was going to correct you.
And his wife's pretty sweet. He's married to a gold medalist too. So that's even better.
I was going to correct you when you called him a backup. It's a starter waiting around here.
I didn't say backup.
You did the first time you did.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh. You should have corrected me.
I was going to try to, but he had a good line after that. So do you know what you're planning? You're just not telling Bill? Like, is that how that works? You have to go through the week to prepare. So you have an idea of what.
Oh, of course, yeah. We have an absolute plan. I'm just not going to tell you guys what it is.
There you go. He's not going to give you the details. Come on, man. It's not going to happen. But the good news is that guys are practicing. He's getting closer to getting some of his guys back. A guy like Jair, hopefully getting ready to come back. Darnell Savage, hopefully getting ready to come back. Some of these guys, possibly we could see them on the field coming up on Sunday night. So there you go. Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. A whole lot more to get to. I absolutely, positively promise you that. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, ho, ho! I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no, pay later. Oh.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See show for details. Offer ends 12/31/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back on this Friday. You know, it's in the 40s, a little bit of rain. We haven't really taken the punch in the face yet, but you know it's coming, right? You know the weather's coming. And if you're thinking about getting away, right here in our own backyard is our friends from Cruise Planners, Land and Cruise Vacations. And they can help you finance the trip. They can help you plan the trip. And if you've got, say, you want to go to an all-inclusive in Mexico, no problem. Cruise, no problem. International, no problem. Say you want to get your family together for the holidays or a holiday party mid-year or something to that effect, and you want to bring people in from all over the country, they can do that too. That's what Kirk and the gang over there at Cruise Planners do. They're based right here in Wisconsin, and they are your cruise and land vacation experts. So give them a call, 262-344-0697. Again, anywhere that you're listening to the program in the continental U.S., 262-344-0697. Give them a call. And the best part about it is for the best land and cruise packages available, they've got the most up-to-date information. So that's our friends at Cruise Planners. Cruise Planners. Kirk, call them, 262-344-0697. And whether you just want to get away for a weekend or a whole week, or maybe you want to take the trip of a lifetime, they can help you out with all of that. That is our friends at Cruise Planners. Again, 262-344-0697. Anything there that Joe Barry stated that you went, whoa, wait a minute. Joe Barry sounds like he's in a pretty good mood, didn't he, Grant?
Yeah, he's like, hey, look at my defense. I keep losing players, and this defense keeps feeling better. I don't understand how Joe Barry's defense works, because the last couple of years have all gone the same. We start the year really excited, a lot of talent. We're really underwhelmed, and then guys get hurt, or like this year, guys get traded. So the personnel gets worse, but then by the end of the year, the defense gets better. I don't understand why. I want to sit down and ask Joe Barry, like, do you understand how weird this is? Explain to me how this works.
How do I put this? It is a conundrum for me, especially when this morning the eye-opening statistic of the sixth best pass rush in the National Football League came up, and I went, wow. Because I just remember Gutekunst at the combine, just over and over, pressure on quarterbacks, got to get pressure up front, pressure on quarterback. I just kept saying it. And I kept thinking, man, this is the shot over the bow to Joe Barry that you better start dialing some things up. And then you read sixth best in the National Football League. Now, to the counter of that, like we had mentioned, they are also the 5th worst when it comes to allowing intermediate passes. The quick outs, they're good at smothering. Down the field, they're pretty good at coverage. But those intermediate passes, those third down killers that keep you on the field, they're giving those up, quite a bit of those. So if they can either get to the quarterback and start creating even more sacks, or they can start the coverage over the middle just a little. And that's due in part. I mean, you understand it because of the injuries. I mean, Quay Walker was down for a while. Devondre Campbell was down for a while. You were mixing and matching. So you understand where they're at. But, yeah, there you go. There you go. Good stuff. 1 hour, that fast. 1 hour down. 3 more to go. Don't forget, coming up last hour of the program today, the Hall of Famer, Jerry Kramer, is going to be joining us. We got a lot more to get to. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers could be getting back a large part of their secondary this weekend. Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes, Darnell Savage, and Rudy Ford all practiced yesterday, at least on a limited basis. Alexander has missed the last 2 games, while Stokes and Savage have been on injured reserve for more than a month. A.J. Dillon also back in practice yesterday after missing earlier in the week with a groin injury. Aaron Jones and Jaden Reed remained out. Sunday will mark the first game of the month in December for the Packers this year. It's a month that LaFleur has owned in his time as coach. He's 15-0 overall, 8-0 at Lambeau Field. He was asked yesterday about the key to his success.
I think it's just staying consistent, staying true to your process, and really pushing to get better. This is a long season, and trying to stay mentally fresh as best you can is an important part of that. But I think the consistency, showing up on a daily basis, ready to work, ready to put in the work, and wanting to improve, I think is really the key to that.
Kick on Sunday is set at 7:20. Turning to the Badgers, they'll find out their bowl destination on Sunday, most likely the Music City Bowl against an SEC team.
2023 has been a great year for the members of LiUNA Wisconsin, their contractors, and other construction industry partners. LiUNA Wisconsin would like to wish you a safe, happy, and healthy holiday season. And it is not too early to start thinking about the new year. If you would like to learn more about a career as a member of LiUNA Wisconsin, where you will earn great union wages, healthcare, and a pension, please learn why you are worth so much more by visiting liunawisconsin.org.
After railing to force overtime, the Milwaukee Bucks would fall to the Chicago Bulls on the road 120-113. The Bucks, who have won 8 of their last 10, now sit third in the East with a 13-6 record and will take on the Hawks at the Pfizer Forum tomorrow. And finally, Wisconsin basketball welcomes in number 3 Marquette tomorrow to the Kohl Center for an 11:30 tip. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome in. Good to have you. Bill Michaels Show, hour number 2. Welcome to everybody on the network all throughout the great state of Wisconsin. Packers coming up on Sunday night. You got Wisconsin and Marquette out at the Kohl Center tomorrow. You got some of the conference championships beginning tonight, Washington and Oregon, and the rest of them tomorrow. I mean, just what a sports weekend. Bucks are back home after the ugly loss down in Chicago. If you are out and about and you're looking for a meal or you want to take something home, this portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Big Boar Barbecue in La Crosse, right there in West Salem. Great stuff. Lunches, dinners, catering, family owned, has been for a long time. But if you're looking for, maybe you want to send something to your office and just say, hey, I want to say thanks for a job well done in 2023. Call them, 608-612-0387, or simply go to bigboarbbq.com. Their ribs, the brisket, the pulled pork, fantastic. I am a coleslaw connoisseur, and they've got really good coleslaw too. Some places too vinegary and too bitter. Nah, I don't want to do that. But the coleslaw they have there is really, really good. That and the mac and cheese, big time stuff. So, but they're just great people. You just want to support good local businesses that have really good people. So they're one of them. Again, go to Big Boar Barbecue, BigBoarBarbecue, BigBoarBBQ.com, and see all that they have to offer right out there in West Salem. So good stuff. Good stuff. 877-867-1670. Dennis says, going back to what Joe Barry had to say, he said, let's be clear, the success of the Packers defense is mostly because of the individual talent that Goody has acquired, like Gary Smith, Walker Clark, and many others, not the inept conservative vanilla schemes and play calling of Joe Barry. Dennis, you can't say that. You can't. You can't give the credit to the players and blame the coach when things go wrong. And then when things go wrong, it's just the coach, it's not the players that you just gave credit to. You can't do that. It's all encompassing. Every guy has to do his job. I know you hate Joe Barry. I know you hate Matt LaFleur. I get it. But you'd be a hypocrite if you said only the bad plays, only when a team walks the ball down the field is it Joe Barry's fault. But yet when the defense plays good, it's all the individual efforts. It has to go hand in hand. Has to. So last night, perfect example. You watch that Cowboys game. And early on in that contest, especially for the first 2.5 quarters, the Seahawks did a great job of putting pressure on Dak Prescott. And he had a good game, don't get me wrong, but he was under pressure. He was on the move. They got to him at times. And then just after half, Mike McCarthy kind of flipped the script a little bit. There was more plays with Dak Prescott on the move, getting outside of the pocket, creating. And I thought it was, because I thought to myself, what are they going to do to stop the pass rush? And granted, they did a couple of, keeping the tight end in and such, but, and blitz pickup coming from the running back was solid too. But I thought, because Geno Smith did the same thing, they had quite a few rollouts, little quick hitters that would go for 5-10 yards, keep moving the chains. But that's kind of what they did with Dak Prescott. So again, people look at it and go, man, Dak had a great game. But you also have to look at what Mike McCarthy called in the second half of that game when Dak was getting pressure in his face, that all of a sudden he was standing like a statue in the pocket and the pocket was collapsing on him. So Mike said, let's roll him out. Let's put him on the move a little bit. And also then what that did was a couple of the out patterns to the running back. It was made to look as if Dak was going to roll out. So they started collapsing on Dak. That left some of the areas open. They had a couple of quick hitters. So it was coaching. People want to give it all to Dak. Dak handled the pressure. Well, they also made some changes when it came to play calling too. So it has to go hand in hand. You can't just give credit to the players when things are good and the coaching sucks when things are bad. So Andre says Valentine has the energy and the potential to be great. Energy, yes. Potential, I don't know. I'd love to see it. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely. But I like, it's not even the energy. I like his swagger. From the first day he got to start, right after Rasul Douglas was traded. I liked it. 877-867-1670, about an hour away. Going to get kind of the eye on the enemy, so to speak. Soren Petro is going to be joining us from 810. Kansas City radio station is going to be talking to us about what's going on down there in KC. So we'll get with him on that, kind of an eye on the enemy, if you will. So we're going to do that coming up here in about 50 minutes. So hang in there, top of the next hour. Also, like I said, Jerry Kramer, Hall of Famer, in the last hour of the program today. No Mike Clemens today, by the way, unless Mike calls in from some kind of a practice or something. But there is a broadcasters luncheon. It takes place this Friday of every year. And it's a bunch of people that have been in the broadcast business in Milwaukee and throughout the state of Wisconsin. And they all get together. They all have lunch down at Saz's. And Mike is always invited to that. We've always been invited, but we can never go. We're on the air. But Mike's always been invited to that. So Mike always takes his Friday off and heads down there and kind of reminisces with people that have been in the biz for a long, long time. So no Mike Clemens today. However, we will be talking with Jerry Kramer. So the only type of person that we can fill in the void with for Mike Clemens would be a Hall of Famer from the Green Bay Packers, and that's going to be Jerry Kramer. So I'm excited about that today. Excited about that. Bob says, why does the media ask stupid questions that they know they're not going to get answers to? Like, what is your scheme going to be against Kansas City coming up this weekend? Bob, that's the first time I've ever heard a criticism of the media for asking a relevant question. Now, there's certain things. It's like when things are bad. Well, why don't they hammer LaFleur more? Well, you know,
So the power at Bill's house went out, his entire block. I just figured his internet cord got unplugged. If I was Bill, don't tell him I said this. If I was Bill, I'd just be like, oh, sorry, power's out. Nothing I can do. I Talk to you Monday. Grant, can you take care of the rest of the show? I'm going to start my weekend just a little early. The entire block. Well, this is going to make for a good story when we get Bill back on. Soren Petro is going to join us at noon. Little eye on the enemy. He posts a Kansas City radio show on Sports Radio 810. And he does a lot of podcasting work with our guy, Eric Eager, who's a big Chiefs fan. So I sent him a text the other night, said, hey, you know Eric, we know Eric. Would you come on, give us the lowdown on the Chiefs? So he's going to join us at noon. And then as Bill said a couple of times, Jerry Kramer is going to be here for a couple of segments in the final hour of the show, in the 1 o'clock hour, talk about his new book. I mean, we can talk about a million things. We could tell lots of stories and hear lots of stories with Jerry Kramer. So he's just about an hour and a half away as well. We're going to talk to him coming up at 1 o'clock. We'll take your tweets, your texts, your comments, your calls. I think Bill's power is going to be good to go. We're going to take a break and come back, and hopefully Bill will be ready to join us. No, it's not my internet. All of the power on my entire block went out. I figured maybe the mice chewed through one of his internet cables, his electric cables. But no, it's the whole damn block. Maybe the quarry. I would imagine that Bill will probably have a good story for us coming up here after the break. So let's take our 3-minute break. We'll come back again. Soren Petro to talk Chiefs in about 45 minutes. Jerry Kramer to join us later on in the show. Bill Michael's going to join us. Hopefully he gets power back. We're going to take a 3-minute break. Bill will join us and resume hosting the show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
In the heart of downtown Milwaukee, there's an all-new Potawatomi Casino Hotel, where there's a table waiting for you at 12 bars and restaurants, a winning seat at 40 table games or 3,000 slot machines, plus the thrill of bingo, full-service sports betting, and more. Are you ready to spark something new? Light up your senses at Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Explore more at paysbig.com.
Ho, ho, ho! I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Pella now, pay later.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See show for details. Offer ends 12/31/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Bill Michaels Show. We're back. We're back. I did hear the end of the last break too, by the way, Grant. So I could have just said, I don't know what happened, but we're done for the day. Yeah. But no, we're back. And this portion brought to you by our friend. Last night I had told you, and I don't know if you saw the pictures of it, but and I posted it on all the platforms, but great night last night. Sat down and watched the Cowboys and the Seahawks, decorated the Christmas tree, built the fire, had a few beverages, and we grilled some of the chicken from Robert's Specialty Meats in Waukesha last night. And it was perfect night last night. Relaxing, was wonderful. And if you are looking for, whether it's tailgate fare, if you want to place an order for, say, Christmas ham, Christmas turkey, or you just want some really good, meat from your hometown butcher, whether it's ribs on a stick, the garlic parm skewers, the Al Capone roast, the Al Capone sausages, all really, really good. And a lot of Wisconsin-based products, cheeses and such, right there in Robert's Specialty Meats Waukesha.com. That's Robert's Specialty Meats Waukesha.com on Sunset Drive in Waukesha. And the best part about it is Paul Roberts actually told me to tell you that they cater. So whether it's a Christmas party, which they're kind of booked up, but they still have some availability, or something after Christmas, something going into the new year, they can do that too. So just give them a shout. Again, Robert's Specialty Meats Waukesha.com. Good stuff. Good stuff from Paul Roberts. So yeah, basically what happened, and I think I heard you read the text because it was amazing. The generator kicked in within a matter of 2 minutes. And that's great. That's exactly what it's supposed to do here. But it takes the internet a little bit longer to reboot. So it took about 5 minutes. And I don't know what happened, to be honest, but there was a boom. And instantaneous, just the minute you heard the boom, the power went out. And that was it. So and then it eventually came back on as the generator had already kicked on and we started getting power again. But then the lights came back on and everything was good. But I don't know if it was a transformer. I don't know if there was a car accident. Couldn't tell you. But everything went out. Because the reason I know that it was the block, because the neighbor next to me and behind me both have Christmas lights. They leave them on 24/7. And when I looked out, their lights were off and the neighbor's lights were off. And then when the power popped back on after about 5 minutes after the generator was running, then their lights were back on. So I knew that we were back online. But yeah, probably a transformer. Maybe a squirrel was hiding nuts up in a transformer or something, and boom, something went down. But whatever it was, man, it was a rattling boom that kind of shook the house. So there you have it. But we're back. And I did. So the next time something happens and suddenly you text me and say, hey, I can't make it back on, I'm done, should I just take that as the note of saying, hey, power went out. I don't know what to do.
Well, that's what I thought. If I were you, I'd be like, well, the generator's not kicking on. I'm working on it, Grant, but I might not be able to continue the Exactly. Yeah.
The only time that's ever happened where I could not go back on the air was, I don't think it's ever happened with you and I, right?
No, anytime you've disconnected, you've come right back.
Yeah. I don't think it's ever happened with you and I, but the only time that I can ever remember just completely being off the air was when we got hit by lightning. and it fried everything. It fried the tie line. It fried the equipment. It fried the computers. It fried me. It fried everything. That's the only time I can ever remember going off the air.
Which
we get back on.
And Emo mentioned this morning. Wasn't that the last time you had Jerry Kramer on the show?
It might have been.
Was it?
That's a great. No. We had Jerry Kramer on the show. I want to say in Miami just before COVID, because he had gone into the Hall of Fame, and then we had Jerry Kramer on the show in Miami and at Super Bowl.
Okay.
So that was right as COVID hit. We were standing in line to go through security and I told this story 1,000 times, but when Kobe Bryant had passed away, and front page of the USA Today was Kobe Bryant's crash. And there was a little blurb off to the side in that little side, left-hand side column that said, what was it? One Kung Fu Chai. I have no idea what the hell it was. Kung Fu Panda. I don't know. Wang Fu or whatever it was.
Wang Chung? Everybody Wang Chung tonight?
Wang Chunging tonight. No, whatever they called it, out of something China, there was a bacteria or an infection, or people were getting
in
sick. Wuhan. Thank you. I couldn't get
okay.
Kung Fu.
I had no clue I didn't know it was COVID related. It's like, okay, I actually like the movie Kung Fu Panda, so I thought maybe that had something to do, but no, it's Wuhan. Okay. It
was in Wuhan, China, and there was this little blurb in the paper. And I remember we're standing in line in security, and everybody's talking about Kobe. And Mike says, we need to pay attention to that. And that's how I know when it happened, because it was the Super Bowl as we were starting to learn more about Wuhan, China, and whatever bacteria or whatever escaped there, that was then going to become a pandemic. And Mike said to me, he said, we got to pay attention to that. That could happen. And we all kind of went, whatever. That's, maybe people get sick, but we never thought the world was going to close down for over a year. And we were not, we were all going to be housebound. But that's the last time that I talked to Jerry Kramer, where I interviewed him. I've seen Jerry once or twice since, but where we've actually had him on the air.
So the last 3 times you've talked to Jerry Kramer, once you got struck by lightning, the other was the very beginning of a global pandemic. And then today, your entire block loses power.
The whole block blew up. So
just keeping track.
Yeah, you can pretty much expect some type of either major or minor calamity to happen if we announce that we have Jerry Kramer coming on the program. So you're correct. Thank you for reminding me of that. I don't know whether that makes me want to have Jerry Kramer on more, because I just want to see if we're going to keep up the streak, or less to keep our life sane. One of the two.
Which, by the way, we're keeping track. Another thing to add to the list of things that Mike Clemens was right about early. He was right about the pandemic, and he was right about Malik Heath, it would seem. So he's 2 for 2.
Yeah, he was right about Malik Heath. You're correct. Mike's got that. He's got that spidey sense, man. He's got that spidey. And for those that don't know that, I mean, it used to be back in the cartoon days of Spider-Man. He would always say, my spidey senses are tingling. Mike still uses that. When Mike came over the other day, he was talking about, I can't remember what he was talking about. Something he had a thought for. Oh, I know what it was. He was talking about the upper management of the Packers before Mark Murphy took over. And we were going back to those days. We were talking about some of the things that had happened that we had noticed behind the scenes. And Mike said, yeah, at that point in time, my spidey senses went up. And I kind of thought to myself in that very moment that Mike, he digs deep into the old cliches, so to speak, and sticks with them. So no, the mice did not chew through the wires. That was good news. Rick says, weren't you in Western Wisconsin when you got nailed by the lightning? I was. We were at Wild Ridge Golf Course. We were in La Crosse, Wisconsin, or Eau Claire. We were in Eau Claire for the Junior Achievement Golf Outing. And every year when they did that golf outing, and I don't know if they still do it anymore, but every year when they did it, they would always bring in a speaker. One year it was Frankie Winters, then it was Paul Kaufman. There was a couple other Packers that had done it. And that year, Jerry Kramer that was his first appearance after being inducted into the Hall of Fame, because it's always the first or second week of August. and he had just been inducted into football's Hall of Fame. And that was his first appearance. So it was a big deal. I mean, that thing had sold out, and there were people everywhere. And then that little tiny storm cell came, and boom, next thing you know, history's made. So that was it. Yeah. David says, I've been listening long enough now to know that a few times the generators had to kick on, worth its weight in gold. You'd be surprised. Now, at like big buildings, like where you're at, Grant, at our home mothership out there at Midwest Family Broadcasting in Madison, Wisconsin, the minute it switches on immediately, there is very little lag time. Like it's an on-off situation. Like you flip a switch down, flip it back on. Me, I have to actually flip the switch to start the generator. I have to get up, go over to the window, walk outside on the balcony, flip the switch to the generator, and boom, fires up. And then, once it gets going and running, then you've got your internet and all that stuff. Whereas in the building that, Grant, you're in, it would be on almost instantaneously. Here, it takes, I don't know, anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes to get it up and running. So anyway, 877-867-1670. I've gone on long enough about generators and lightning strikes and all that kind of good stuff. So stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's all coming up, and it's coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Always a crazy one, broke into the stadium and I wrote your number.
Coming up today, a good friend, Jeff Stoll and Alicia Stoll from Stoley's Hog Alley, Stoll's Old 109. They got tremendous fish fries this weekend. It's a holiday season, but it doesn't mean you can't get a good fish fry. Oh, outstanding. And that salted rye bread they have is just awesome. It's a reason to go there. Whether it's the burgers, the pizzas, the fish fries, they got it all. Stoley's Hog Alley, Lake Country in Oconomowoc, right there in Summit on Venice Beach Road, or Stoll's Old 109 in Watertown on County Road R. Both of them, both places, just awesome. Go there and watch the games. Go there and have good food. Go there and see good friends. Both places just fantastic, and the hospitality is awesome as well. So I can't say thanks enough to our friends at Stoley's Hog Alley and Stoll's Old 109, and they also have customer appreciation parties coming up for the holiday season. Make sure you make it out to both. Not one, but to both. There you have it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Ryan says, listening to Joe Barry go back and forth with the media, one, he sounds like he has a smile on his face. Of course. He then says, but I don't think the pass rush is actually getting to the quarterback. It's just hurrying up the quarterback, so maybe it's a skewed number. Ryan, and appreciate the email, but Ryan, it's pass rush. It's just keeping a quarterback under pressure in less than 2.5 seconds. That's what it is getting to a quarterback, taking them off their mark, making them throw the ball early, making them move out of the pocket, whatever it happens to be. The pass rush. Now, I'm sure there's, other things they take into account when they go through that, but the pass rush is not just sacks and hits. I mean, it's all of it. It's quarterback hurries, quarterback sacks, the quarterback that has to get rid of the ball in less than 2.5 seconds. Also, the quarterback that then has to get off of his spot in less than 2.5 seconds, putting them on the run. So it's all of that combined. I don't know what the criteria is, but I get the sense that some people are looking for this to say, well, it's not a real statistic. It's, it's because of this, or because it's not because Joe Barry's defense is playing any better. Do you get that, Grant? Do you get the sense that nobody wants to see the defense actually get credit? Like, go back to Dennis's email that said, well, it's the players that are getting it done. It's not Joe Barry and his lackluster defense.
Yeah, I just think people have been out on Joe Barry. So anything that happens, I don't know that that's going to change a lot of folks' mind. But he gets credit for whether it's motivating or organizing or teaching or leading, putting those guys in a place to make plays, and then they make the play. He gets credit for that, right? It's not like the players and him are completely disconnected. They're one and the same. Right.
I completely agree. Completely agree. How do I say this? Joe Barry, if this defense continues to perform and they stay near the top 10 in scoring and they continue to pressure quarterbacks and they're not giving up big drives at the most inopportune time, and the offense is scoring and not putting the defense in bad positions, Joe Barry's going to be here next year. Now, that's a lot that has to happen, don't get me wrong, but if you had to make a determination right here, right now, as to whether or not Joe Barry has upped his game a little and is doing an adequate or better than adequate job with the defense, you would probably have to say that he's doing a better than adequate job. That may not make people happy, but that's the case. You can't make up stuff to get rid of a guy. You either want him to stay or you don't. And if the eyeball test just says no, then and you just don't want him there because you just don't feel he's the guy to take you to a next level, that's fine. But for those that like to throw stats or scores, remember this team had after 5 or 6 games, the defense had been on the field for almost 2.5 quarters more than the offense because the offense was going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, turnover, 3 and out. They weren't getting the job done. So it would be hard for me right now to go, yeah, especially now, think about this, losing Rasul Douglas, no Rudy Ford, no Darnell Savage, no Jair Alexander, and they're still getting it done. Somebody's got to get credit for that, right? So I get that there's people that don't want to see Joe Barry return, but so far there's been justification there for his return. That's all.
The last 3 years, hasn't the defense peaked and really played their best ball at the right time at the end of the year? And
don't forget, you go back a couple of years, the defense in that 13-win season, when the Packers hosted San Francisco at home, it was the defense that kept them in the game.
Yeah.
In that playoff game, the defense played well. The offense and the special teams flat out sucked, but it was the defense that kept them in the game. So they have gotten better as the season's gone on. You're right. Dave says now the defense is playing better. Could we surmise that maybe Rasul Douglas was a part of the problem? No, because then you would say, well, would Jair be a part of the problem? Or was Rudy Ford a part of the problem? Or was Darnell Savage a part of the problem? I think, and every guy in there will tell you that he was a leader. They respected him. Rasul Douglas wasn't, he was the one that kind of held guys accountable. And maybe that's part of it, was the accountability that he held guys to up until this point. Until he got traded, caused the level of play to rise. Because they replaced him with Valentine. Carrington Valentine took his spot. Carrington Valentine's played well. He got picked on right away. But then after he got picked on and learned a few things, he started to play well. You can see him coming on. Like I said, he's got a little bit of swagger to him. And I like that. So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, one thing I want to see from Joe Barry, Bill, we talked about this cycle with Barry, right? Where the beginning of the year, we think they have all this talent. It doesn't look good. Guys get injured, guys get traded. And then at the end of the year, we're like, oh, actually the defense plays okay. I want the end of this season to now translate into the beginning of next year. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Right. Like, I don't want to get to week 1 next year and feel like we're starting from scratch all over again. And we have to go through all this. Right. Like Carrington Valentine and Corey Ballant, Rudy Ford, guys have played nicely over their skis. Like, this is good. They're playing above their weight class probably. But are they guys who can go out on the field week 1 next year as your plan start? Probably not. I want 1 year to build into the next and into the next. And it feels like that's never the case with Joe Barry.
That I would agree with. And I could go with you on that. They gave up 20 to the Bears. They gave up 25 to the Falcons, but they should have won that game. They could have kicked that field goal and chose not to. They had a couple of really bad penalties that put them in a bad situation. The defense gave up 25 points, admittedly, but they only gave up 18 to the Saints, or 17 to the Saints. The Lions, that was a different game. They got dump trucked. But then they gave up 17 to the Raiders, 19 to the Broncos, 24 to the Vikings, 3 to the Rams, 23 to the Steelers, 20 to the Chargers, and 22 to the Lions. The problem hasn't been the defense. When you're losing a game to the Raiders 17-13, when you're losing a game to the Broncos 19-17, the problem's not the defense. There's a couple of games that this team should have won, and they didn't because the offense was so bad. So, a couple of people said, well, it takes them a half a season to get going. I can understand that. But they did their job against Atlanta for the most part. Now, the problem was the run game. The run game was terrible early on. Bijan Robinson just ran all over them, and I'll admit that. But the Raiders game played well. And that's what, 5 games into the season? They played decent in Chicago. They played good against the Saints. That was the 3rd game of the season. The Raiders, the Broncos, that was the 5th, 6th game of the season. I mean, they've played pretty well. You know, I don't know what else to say. I'd like to be able to, believe me, for a long time, I'd like to be able to jump on a statistic and go, well, there you go. That's the reason it sucks. But it's not there. It's just not there right now. Maybe down the stretch, I don't know. Maybe this defense all of a sudden turns and Joe Barry goes conservative and they're, living death by 1,000 cuts again. But I don't know what to tell you because it's not happening right now. Greg says should have won the Steelers game as well. The refs missed the TUD. Marks the Shark says the biggest problem this year so far has been David Bakhtiari's huge contract and getting nothing in return. But Mark, I'll agree with you. But that's not been the biggest problem this year. The biggest problem this year has been Aaron Rodgers' big contract and not being able to get additional players to fortify your team like they normally would because you don't have the ability to go out and spend the money. Yeah, you can talk about, not getting a return on Bakhtiari, but you're not getting any return on Rodgers. Not only did you got rid of his contract, but not only are you paying the money, but you're not even going to get that top draft choice, that first round draft choice for him because he's not coming back to play 65% of the snaps. You got rid of Rodgers. You accelerated the salary cap hit. Next year is going to be a completely monetary different year. I 100% agree, but you had to bite the bullet for 1 year. Had to bite the bullet for 1 year. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Certainly appreciate you being here. Hey, don't forget this portion of the program brought to you by our buddy Gino and the gang down at Calderon Club, downtown Milwaukee, 838 Old World 3rd Street. I'm going to be there tonight. I cannot wait. And then next week as well, we have a meeting at San Giorgio. So we're going to do both places within about 5 days. Calderon Club tonight, whether it's the spaghetti and meatballs, the spicy penny sashina, or heading over to San Giorgio and getting one of those pizzas. Oh, that are so good. So good. And I can't wait for the eggplant appetizer, the bruschetta, and just great service and great people. And it's kind of like the who's who in Milwaukee walks through the door in there. Calderon Club and San Giorgio, 838 Old World 3rd Street, whether it's before a Bucks game, Marquette game, theater, concert, or you just want a great night out, date night out, family gathering, whatever it happens to be. 2 great places to go. That's Calderon Club and San Giorgio. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, ho, ho! I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no, pay later. Oh.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offer ends 12/31/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
This weekend, this Sunday, don't forget, Waukesha downtown, they have the Christmas parade this Sunday. And if you're going to go watch it, I would highly recommend stopping into Nice Ash Cigar Bar. It's right there on 323 West Main Street. As a matter of fact, if the weather is a little inclement, you can sit inside, right inside the front window, and watch the parade go by. And support downtown Waukesha. It's been a couple of years, obviously, since the parade tragedy, but if you get a chance, head down that way, stop in, support one of our fine sponsors, and you can watch the games. You can have a beverage. Years past, they put out some hot cocoa too. So if you even want to walk in and do that, but they have live entertainment last night, tonight, tomorrow night. They'll have the games on all throughout the bar coming up on Sunday, and then the parade goes by. So stop in, theniceash.com, 323 West Main Street, downtown Waukesha. And you can go there and see for yourself. Wayne says, do you know what the Packers' available amount of money is under the cap projected to be, given that Rodgers is coming off? I hear you and others referencing that. I don't remember, and I guess I'm curious to the kind of money that could be spent to strengthen the depth of this roster. I don't have the exact number. I know it between him and Bakhtiari, it could be, I've heard anywhere from $45 to $65 million that they could be under the cap. I don't have it sitting here. I'm pulling it up as we speak because I had it. I don't have it sitting here like directly in front of me, but I believe it's quite a bit that'll be adjusted. Now, if you go into next year with some of the money that they have, depending on what they're going to do, you look at like right now, like Sport Track has it at like $6 million, but they have to officially let go of David Bakhtiari. So that'll be close to 20 million. They're going to get 21 million. They're going to get back. So that puts you at what, 27 million that they're under the cap. Some guys are going to get raises. I'm trying to figure this out, but it's going to be, I got to feel that there's 3 or 4 guys that are going to have some money that's going to be moved and others aren't going to be here. And it's going to go I would say a fair guesstimate would be right about $30 to $35 million, which is quite a bit of money. But there's going to be moves made. Like right now, it won't tell you the exact amount, but there'll be some moves made. So, and they'll be back. I mean, as far as their ability to manage that cap, it'll be back because they've really done a pretty good job at getting ahead of the contracts, such as a Rashawn Gary and such. So, yeah, they'll be back. They'll be ready to go. So we got that to kind of look forward to this year. Sammy says, is Jordan Love gone after this year? No. If what I've said all along is this, is that if Jordan Love looks as if he's really not the guy, depending on how the next 6 games play out, then I think at the very least you owe it to yourself, depending on where you draft, to look at quarterbacks. And you can get yourself a quarterback either to come in and compete for the job, or if you believe that Sean Clifford could possibly be the guy, or a veteran free agent that could be out on the open market as well, that maybe you can get a little bit better price on, that then comes in and competes for the job. Now, the problem is, and I know a lot of people yell about Kirk Cousins, 1, he's coming off a major injury. But 2, he's not going to want to come in and be a backup. He wants to be the starter, and he wants starters' money. So if you believe Love's the guy and it's going to be an open competition, you're not bringing in a guy like Kirk Cousins, because he's not going to want to come in and compete for his job. He wants to be the guy. And there's going to be plenty of other teams out there that need a veteran quarterback that don't have a quarterback now where they're going to say, you're the guy. So I think you're going to open it up competition-wise. But if he continues to play well, I mean, over the last 4 weeks, the 3rd best rated quarterback in the National Football League overall through the whether it's the ESPN stats or the Pro Football Focus stats has been Jordan Love. Over the last 4 weeks, Jordan Love has been one of the better high-end quarterbacks in the National Football League. So if he continues to trend that way, then no, you're not, he'll be here. You're not going to do anything with him. You're not even going to look in a different direction. There's no reason to. All you do is try to cultivate Sean Clifford, maybe bring in another guy as, a backup to the backup, so to speak. But beyond that, no, you're good. Just then you can spend money on holes that you need to fill for veterans, whether it's a left tackle, another corner, whatever it is you want to do, another wideout, veteran wideout, or, then you've got your draft that's ahead of you. But I think you do need another veteran here or there. I don't think it's easy just to come in and just all of a sudden play left tackle. Not that the left tackle position for the Packers has been bad. It was not great early on, but the offensive line has kind of settled in. Not a great run blocking offensive line, but the pass blocking offensive line, one of the better ones in football. Can't argue that. So I don't think they're going to go out and get themselves a quarterback, at least not right now, but you got to wait for the rest of the season to kind of play itself out. At least in my opinion. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. 877-867-1670. We are going to get an eye on the enemy upcoming as Soren Petro is going to be joining us. Hosts down there in Kansas City. And he is on 810 radio down there in Kansas City, sports talk show host, and he's going to give us a lowdown the eye on the enemy when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs coming to town. And I want to get more when you talk about their depth chart. Rashee Rice, I want to get more on him because he has really kind of come on over the last couple of weeks. He's become kind of a favorite. And does that mean a guy like Marquez Valdez-Scantling is finding the bench more often? You don't have to worry about his speed downfield because of that just ugly, very much highlighted drop that he had a few weeks back. So we're going to talk with him, Sky Moore, Justin Watson, those guys getting a little more playing time. And then we'll find out, obviously, who they think might be the defendant against Travis Kelce when it comes to the game this coming Sunday. What they're thinking. Stay tuned. We're going to talk some Kansas City Chiefs football coming up next. Stay right where you're at. We'll be back right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are on the practice field for the final time this week as they prepare for Sunday night's showdown against Kansas City. It is December, which means the weather is certainly going to start playing a factor in games this week. Forecast calling for temperatures to drop into the 20s and the chance for snow showers. Quarterback Jordan Love says it's just another thing you have to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that, you can't control. You just got to go out there and play. Try and just keep your mind on going and doing your job, playing a great game. But obviously it's a factor that's there. But the main thing is trying not to let it affect you. It's hard to play in the cold when it's, cold, snowing, your hands aren't as warm, things like that. So there's all these little factors that play into it, but it's a mental game. You just got to be able to be stronger than elements.
Final injury report due later this afternoon. Kick on Sunday is at 7:20. Turning the Badgers, they're going to find out where they're headed for bowl season on Sunday. Most projections have them playing in Nashville for the Music City Bowl on December 30th against a team from the SEC. Meanwhile, the transfer portal will officially open on Monday. So far, 2 Wisconsin players, quarterback Miles Burkett and center Dylan Barrett, have announced that they will be leaving the Badgers.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Get insurance from a company who knows Wisconsin and cares about your community. You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home and auto rates? Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more about products and discounts.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, it's game day for the Wisconsin volleyball team. They're going to face Miami tonight with a trip to the Sweet 16 on the line. Things get going at the Fieldhouse at 7. Meanwhile, Badger basketball team going to host #3 Marquette tomorrow morning at the Kohl Center. Wisconsin's won 2 straight in the series, 3 of the last 4. Tip is at 11:30, and the Bucks will host Atlanta tomorrow night. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil-Print.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show, hour number 3. Next hour, the Hall of Famer Jerry Kramer is going to be joining us. Stay tuned for that. Packers getting ready to take on the Kansas City Chiefs Sunday Night Football at Lambeau Field. And Grant, did you know this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is Patrick Mahomes' first visit to Lambeau? Did you know that?
So I had Cowherd on in the studio here just on mute, and I saw that. I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, he's been in the league for a while, but he hasn't played at Lambeau yet this year or at all.
Checking it off his list. And to talk more about kind of the eye on the enemy, so to speak, our buddy Soren Petro is joining us. He's a talk show host on the program down there at Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City, following that championship team for a long time. Soren, how you doing? Oh, do we lose him? Oh, there. You there?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. There we go. Good stuff.
There we go.
Awesome. So let's first of all, let's talk about this offense, because so much has been made about the inability of the Chiefs to score in the second half of ball games. Is this just kind of an apparition, or is this something you've noticed problematic for a while now?
No, it's been problematic. I mean, I think, last year the Chiefs had Tyreek Hill leave and everybody said, oh my God, what are they going to do without Tyreek Hill? So that was like a big concern, and they overcame it, won a championship. But let's be clear, they weren't as dynamic offensively without him. That was a big step down, but they overcame it by being better in other ways. And Juju Smith-Schuster, when healthy, gave them a good, solid veteran receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster left as well. So the idea was, well, so what? You replace Tyreek Hill, you replace Juju Smith-Schuster. You're continuing to step down. I think the hope is that Rashee Rice, or I think Sky Moore, their second round pick, the hope was that one of those guys would step up and fill the void, right? When you have a quarterback as expensive as Patrick Mahomes, you can't have high-priced veterans everywhere. They're somewhat, as you always do in free agency, overpaying to have MVS take the top off the defense guy. So they needed it to come from within the draft, just as they pretty much built an entire secondary almost exclusively from in the draft. They were looking to do that with Sky Moore 2 years ago and Rashee Rice this this year. Just recently, Rashee Rice has been starting to fill that void and had 100 yards, led the team in targets against the Raiders. And that's the hope coming down the stretch, that will get fixed because Rashee Rice is losing, the rookie newness, starting to get a feel for where Patrick Mahomes wants him in the offense, where Andy Reid wants him, how to make things work, how to read those option routes, and that they'll at least be back to where they were last year. I don't think they get back to where they were with Tyreek Hill. And then throw in that Travis Kelce's not getting any younger, right? So, I think it's a real issue, but I think it's one that they feel like they're solving a little bit each week with the experience of their young receivers.
The Marquez Valdes-Scantling is interesting. I remember talking to him out at Super Bowl last year and obviously here in Green Bay. And then there's the highlight of him, which should have been bringing in that catch for a touchdown, and he didn't. Has he fallen out of favor? Does he still have the yips like he had here in Green Bay, or is he just a guy that just had one bad moment that was highlighted very publicly, and he's still one of those go-to guys?
Yeah, would you call him yips, or would you say the guy can't catch? I mean,
I'm being kind.
Yips would insinuate that at one point he could catch, and now he's just off kilter. Look, it's amazing how many of the Packer drops, how many of those gifs and memes get sent the Chiefs fans' ways when that Eagles game happened. Look, he has elite speed. In fact, one of the selling points about signing him 2 years ago was that he was the one guy that had clocked faster than Tyreek Hill the year previous to the Chiefs signing him. And he's had his moments. And listen, he's one of those guys that even though he'll probably, like I said, in free agency, never live up to the contract that he signed, counting $11 million against this year's cap, $14 million against next year's cap, about $10 million per year on average. He was giant in the AFC Championship game last year against the Bengals when all their receivers were going down. Juju Smith-Schuster was out. They had really no one else to go to, and he came up big in that moment. And look, Frank Clark, they grossly overpaid when they got him before the 19 season, and both what they gave up in draft capital and what they paid him. But he's like the third leading sacker in postseason history. He's the Chiefs' leading postseason sacker. He came up big in big games. So while neither that Frank Clark contract or this MVS contract is going to be considered a giant success, it's the cost of doing business in free agency. You overpay for what you get, and you hope that they're there when you really need them. Frank Clark was there when they really needed him, and MVS was certainly there when they needed him against the Bengals. Wasn't there against the Eagles. It's one that he has to catch, but you hope when they really do need him later on, he will do it.
So let's go to the defensive side of the football, because the Packers and this offense is starting to click. Over the last 4 weeks, they've been pretty good. We've witnessed that. But this is the first time they're going to face really one of the top five defenses in the National Football League. The last time, Spagnuolo, he ended up unloading the kitchen sink and just zero blitzing the hell out of Jordan Love. What do you suspect they do this time for this young quarterback?
Less of that because Jordan Love's been around the block a few times, but there'll be plenty of blitzes. It's just in the nature of who Steve Spagnuolo is. A lot of coverage disguises. And I'll say this, as good as the Chiefs defense looks, it's probably actually a little bit better. The weakness, the scary part, if I'm a Packers fan, is their weakness is the run defense. They're down to number 19 overall. Some of the, more in-depth metrics will tell you they're even worse than that they're down towards the bottom 2 or 3 run defenses in the NFL. I don't think that's really the case. I think teams come in saying it's our only hope, and we want to really pound the rock because we want to keep the offense off the field. If the offense is scoring points, they drag people out of that style of play. The Broncos were very effective at doing it because the offense wasn't scoring. So if the Chiefs receivers are dropping the ball, if their offensive tackles are picking up penalties, which they've done in buckets this year, and the offense is sputtering, it gets easier to stay on the field with your offense and keep that Chiefs offense off the field because the defense is not what they're built to do. They understand you throw to win, you run when you're winning. So that defense is designed to stop your passing game. And they've got better up front pass rush now. Chris Jones is still Chris Jones, but George Karlaftis, last year's first-round pick, has really come on. Michael Dana, a former fourth-round pick out of Michigan last, and one of the directional Michigan schools before that, but was just kind of a guy you thought was just a jag, but he's really stepped up and is pacing towards 10 sacks this year as well. And it's kept their first-round pick, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who they took from K-State at the bottom of the first round. It's kept him off the field because they've been so good up there. Then throw in the blitzing that Steve Spagnuolo will do, and really coming with the corners with L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. McDuffie had a 2-sack game a couple of weeks ago. They're very effective at putting pressure on the quarterback. And then while Trent McDuffie's emerging as one of the best corners, I think PFF has him top 6 or 7 corners in the league. L'Jarius Sneed's grade looks bad, but they'll travel him with whoever the best wide receiver is. So all his numbers are really against whoever the number one wideout is. And then they have no holes. I mean, defense is a zero-hole business. And even with Nick Bolton going down, Drew Tranquil, who they got for a steal from the Chargers in free agency, really solidified that linebacking core. They're a great coverage team, really good. And if they want to come with 6, they've got 5 guys that can cover man-to-man, no problem. If they want to drop back and flood the field with a zone with 7 guys, they feel like they can get to you with 4. So this is by far the best defense Andy Reid has had since he's been in Kansas City, and certainly the best Patrick Mahomes has played with.
L'Jarius Sneed, I was going to ask you, does he end up, because Christian Watson has come on specifically in the game against Detroit, does he then follow Christian Watson everywhere he goes, or do they look at it as right now they don't have a dominant receiver in Green Bay, so maybe we just float him around to different guys, whoever has the hot hand?
You know, it's kind of whatever Steve Spagnuolo thinks you're going to do. He's going to try to do the opposite. They put him exclusively on A.J. Brown. He held A.J. Brown to 1 catch for 8 yards. Against the Dolphins, they mixed and matched, and they held Tyreek Hill 8 catches, but only 68 yards on the day, and forced a big fumble that was picked up and run back for a touchdown that ended up being the difference in the game over in Germany. So he will do it different ways. And with Trent McDuffie really emerging, and like I said, he's got the better coverage numbers. You know, he can play it different ways. You can't just say, well, we know he's going to do it this way, because he's got depth in that D backfield. Like he hasn't had. The Chiefs have done a great job. Give Brett Veach and that scouting department a lot of credit for being able to find corners, because McDuffie's a first-round pick, but L'Jarius Sneed in the 4th. Watson came in the 7th, I believe it was. They've been able to find corners in all different rounds. You know, they lost Travarius Ward to free agency a couple of years ago. They walked on Marcus Peters. You know, corners are just come and gone. They've never really signed a guy. Now, we think that'll change with Trent McDuffie, maybe change with L'Jarius Sneed, because I don't think they're going to spend the money on Chris Jones this next time, and so maybe they'll do it to keep that secondary together. But this is the best D backfield, and I think that's what Steve Spagnuolo's best at. He's getting a chance to really shine with this group.
I want to go to the defensive side of football for the Packers. They are right now ranked 6th best when it comes to pass rushing, getting quarterbacks off their mark in less than 2.5 seconds. The one question I have is, I mean, if you want to pass rush, that's great. But if you don't get to Patrick Mahomes and you don't contain, he's pretty much his best at improv. So what do defenses do mostly against him? Do they try to collapse the pocket, or do they just try to contain him, keep him in the pocket, and not allow him to get outside and do improv?
I think when you look at the Chiefs offense, we all are pulling our hair out in Kansas City about the offense being so bad. And, you know, mathematically, it's still a top 10 offense because they move up and down the field. I think teams have said, we'll give you the field goal. And by the way, Harrison Butker, you know, knock on wood, if you're a Chiefs fan, hasn't missed a kick or extra point all year. So he is deadly all the way out to 60 plus yards. He's knocked them through. But they're pretty much saying you can have to the 20s, and we'll bow up and we'll flood things in the back. I think teams like to come with just 4 or maybe just 3 even, and put 8 guys in back, because they know Patrick Mahomes just can't keep his hand off the stove. He wants to go long. He waits to go long. Open receivers underneath sometimes will go I don't want to say unnoticed, but maybe unwatched, not thrown to for sure, as he waits for that big play to happen. And I think also they've realized that Travis Kelce's his go-to blanket. Patrick said a couple days ago that Andy Reid challenged him during the bye week to trust his receivers. And I think what had happened, there had been so many drops and so many mistakes by some of these young receivers. He was really just locking into Travis Kelce. The Eagles put 2 guys on Kelce at the goal line and said, somebody else has got to beat us. I think that will be the plan. Drop a lot of guys. Try to contain him with your pass rush. And then if you can get there slowly, fine, but don't let him get out on the run, because he will beat you by running for first downs as well.
Early in the season, I'm sure Chiefs fan looked at this game and said, you know what, just chalk it up as a win. It's a formality, maybe bad weather, maybe not, but it's a formality. Now with the Packers and what they've done 3 out of 4 last games, they've gotten wins. Is there a little more trepidation coming into this game on the part of the Chiefs?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, early on, it was like, well, this is one of the walkovers. The Chiefs schedule, and this has happened the last couple of years. I think it's kind of the winner's bonus. You're the number 1 team coming off a championship. You're supposed to get the toughest schedule, but we find out is there are a lot of fluky teams that finish number 1, and your schedule ends up being softer. And that's what this kind of looked like as well. I know that's not how the Packer game came up. This is a divisional game, but they've had a number of other games that are now playing down. The Bengals they're going to get without Joe Burrow. The Bills are at 500. Their division has played worse than it was supposed to, except for maybe the Broncos of late. And yeah, that's what they thought. This was another game where the schedule was smiling on them, and lo and behold, behold, they start playing better football. So I think the fans and certainly the team, Andy Reid never takes anybody lightly. I think they know that they've got a good game. They're always complimentary of the opponents. They're not usually ones. There was a Cincinnati moment last year where they put a little bulletin board material out for the Bengals, but that's quite an intense rivalry. They've been very complimentary of the Packers. I think, some of us in the media dig in and say, well, yeah, Jordan Love's had 4 good games, but it's been against 1 mediocre pass defense and 3 bad pass defenses. Now, listen, he can only beat the people he's playing against. Maybe he would have beat great pass defenses. We don't know. I would say there's a lot of confidence, certainly from the fan base, not as much as there was, but it will be a shock to the system if the Chiefs don't come away a winner. But I will say for me, a guy that may like to have more than a rooting interest on a game, and I live on the Kansas side, so that's legal. Just to be clear, I can't figure out why this spread isn't at 7.5. The fact that the odds makers are holding it at 6, whether it's the Packers don't lose at home in December, or whether it's, that was just one game for the Chiefs offense, what it is that's keeping that number down, I don't get, because if the Packers can't run the ball, I think it can be a long, long day for Jordan Love, but Vegas won't push that number up. And that's the thing that concerns me. The guys that build 4,000 room hotel and casinos aren't as confident as I think they should be. And that worries me a little bit.
You got the Chiefs top spot in the AFC. I think they're still the reigning champion until somebody knocks the crown off. Who is, in your mind, because the AFC was so deep coming into the season and things have changed so much. Who is the real threat to the Chiefs in the AFC, do you think?
It's 2024 Cincinnati Bengals when Joe Burrow is back. I think that's really the only team in the Bengals. Joe Burrow's got a winning record against Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. If he would come back, Tom Brady owns Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. Those would be the 2 guys. Really, there's no fear for the Ravens. The Ravens have been up at the top spot a lot, but the Chiefs are going to make you play 60, and at the end, you're going to have to score. Look, I think you measure quarterbacks, and this is what I would say to Packer fans to find out on what you have on Jordan Love is when there's a minute 20 and you have 1 timeout and you're down 4, or there's 55 seconds and you have 1 timeout and you're down 3. Can your guy, when the other team knows he has to throw the ball, can he throw the ball downfield and get points? Lamar Jackson can't do that. Right. The only 2 guys that have proven that they can do that are Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. They're the only guys in the AFC that I think really scare people. And the Chiefs have had much more success against the Bills, and they're obviously having a bumpy road this year. So there's not a lot of fear. There should be more fear if the Bills can get themselves righted. But with the Von Miller drama and everything, and off the field, I shouldn't say drama, the horrible accusations that are there, they really are kind of zeroed in that this is their year. The Chiefs are supposed to win. If they beat the Packers, they move back into the 1 seed because they've got the better conference record. They've got 2 NFC losses, so they would move back in front of Baltimore. Their schedule's significantly easier. Baltimore has 4 really tough games to finish the year. So this is the Chiefs' year. Listen, if they don't go back to the Super Bowl, it will be, yes, it's always a disappointment when you have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, but it'll be an even bigger one. This is becoming their Super Bowl. My friend Eric Eager always likes to say, whose Super Bowl was it? The 19 Super Bowl was the Ravens Super Bowl. That's who everybody talked about. That was the 30-plus touchdown year for Lamar Jackson, and the Chiefs stole it from him. 20 was the Chiefs, and the Bucs stole it from him. Well, this is becoming the Chiefs Super Bowl. If it's not theirs, it's the Eagles, and they're in the midst of a big run. But it's certainly the Chiefs Super Bowl to play in from an AFC standpoint based on how most Chiefs fans and I think most analytics people look at it.
Soren, great stuff. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you up at Lambeau Field, and we will talk to you again real soon. Best of luck to you, okay?
Can't wait to get there. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. There you go. Sren Petro joining us from 810, Sports Radio 810 down in Kansas City. Man, awesome breakdown. Good stuff. And he's right. Little surprise. Might be a few people that are, betting on the Packers, but for the most part, I think the money has stayed the same because so many people are betting so heavily on the Chiefs in this particular case. But maybe they move the line a little bit, but I don't think it's going to move too much, only for the fact that the number has come down in the analytics. I mentioned that at the beginning of the show. 56% of the replays or the playing of the game via prediction machine says that the Chiefs will win, which is down from 61% like 3 weeks ago. So it because of what the Packers did to the Lions. So that's the reason I think the number has kind of remained the same. But what a good breakdown as Kansas City comes in and you wouldn't know it. I mean, you've obviously got the Packers right now, and their run game is not at tip-top shape because Aaron Jones has been ailing, and obviously with the groin issue, so is A.J. Dillon. So you don't have this prolific run game to back you up right now against a team that can give up rushing yards. So it's going to come down to the arm of Jordan Love versus the arm of Patrick Mahomes. And like he said, with a minute 20 to go and, one timeout, you got to move the ball down the field. Can your guy do it? That's what it comes down to in a quarterback-driven league. And hopefully it comes down to that, and we find out, which would be fantastic. But thanks to Storm Petro for joining us for a couple of minutes on the hotline and giving us the breakdown. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need a window.
Maybe it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no, pay later.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offer ends 12/31/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You know, down at the Rock Complex in Franklin, Wisconsin, not just Lux Golf Bays. The Lux Golf Bays are open. But what they have going on down there with the enchantment is amazing. If you haven't been there yet, the entire baseball field is this enchanted, lighted forest. They have so much going on down there. It's been in the news. All the news stations have been covering it. It's been in the paper. But you can go to luxgolfbays.com for sure. But I would check out the Rock Complex and Ballpark Commons down there because they only do this in like 4 or 6 cities or something like that, where they bring in this light display with ice skating and such. And it is magnificent. Whether you want to go down and take that special somebody and just walk around and kind of skate around the lights or walk around the lights, or you want to take the kids, the family. There's everything from the hot cocoa stuff. They have visits from Santa. They have reindeer. They have just all kinds of stuff down there. It is just so cool. And if you haven't been there, I highly recommend it before it leaves, because you'll kick yourself for not getting to it and checking it out. And the tree, I guess they've got this mammoth Christmas tree down there, just huge. So again, you can check out Lux Golf Bays, LUXE, luxgolfbays.com. But the Enchanted Forest lighted thing they got going on, I don't even know what the technical name for it is, but holy mackerel, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Everybody I've talked to that's been there said this is just spectacular, beyond anything. And I guess it comes from Canada. And they do it in different cities. They have these massive semi-trucks that spread out all over the country, and they do it in different cities. And so I don't know what it costs to get in, don't know, but I would highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. So, absolutely. 877-867-1670. Michael says, well, if the Packers don't get a rushing game going, it's going to be a long day. They're going to need to have a semblance of a run. That I'll agree with. I don't think they have to run the ball at will, but you have got to have some semblance of a run game to take the pressure off of the pass game and Jordan Love. Now, here's the other thing to think about. If you can have get something out of A.J. Dillon, and remember, they've used Jaden Reed quite a bit. Now, they're not running him 20 times a game or even 10 times a game, but you get 2 or 3, 4 of those runs that they like to incorporate to keep the defense honest. You get a couple of those. A.J. Dillon kind of grinds it out, even though he's got the groin issue right now, kind of grinds it out. Doesn't have to be big runs, just enough to give you good down and distance on third down. I think they can sustain. I picked the Packers to lose. I did. And I picked Kansas City to cover. But I still say 27-20, 27-24, 30-24, something like that is, I think, where it's going to end up. That's where I think it's going to end up. Didn't I pick the Packers to cover, or the Chiefs to win and cover the other night during the huddle, Grant? Didn't I do that?
Yeah, I believe you took. I think we both took the Chiefs to cover. Yeah,
because it was only at that point a 6-point game, I think, is what we were looking at. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think then it was a 6-point game. It hasn't gone up anymore since then.
I think we both felt okay about the Packers. I don't think either one of us expect a blowout. Maybe if Aaron Jones was available, I'd feel a little bit better about the Packers' ability to cover. But that's a big one.
Yeah, no doubt. So I picked the Chiefs to win and cover, but I'm still hoping the Packers make. I would love to see the Packers, even if they lose. There's no moral victories in losing sometimes, but this could be one where you face a team with a top 5 defense, you face a team with a top 5 offense, and if you go toe to toe with them at home and say they beat you 27-24, 27-21, 27-23, something like that, that's respectable. It's a 1-score game, but if they beat you 35-17. And this thing's pretty much over at halftime, then no. Then all bets and everything we saw over the last 4 weeks are off, because you just don't have the ability to play with the big boys. That's just my take on it. So that's kind of where I'm at. Hey, coming up, he woke up. Our buddy Kevin Holden from CBS 58. We haven't talked to him about Brewers. We haven't talked to him about Packers. He is obviously the voice of Deportes for the Brewers broadcast. We want to talk to him about this Brewers team and get his thoughts on all of that. Don't forget, coming up in about 45 minutes, Jerry Kramer is going to be here, the Hall of Famer. We'll talk about his new book coming out as well. Got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You got to hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket.
Big weekend going on this weekend. Curly's Waterfront Sports Bar and Grill there on Pewaukee Lake. Ryan's got a great staff over there. They always have a lot of good stuff, but they have got the tequila raffle ended today. So they're doing the drawing for that, but they have got different things going on for benefits over there, whether it's the food pantry, great food and such, by the way. I mean, they have a lot of things just to draw you in anyway. Music, they've got different specialty nights. I know they do a lot of stuff during the week to bring people in, but on the weekends, the games are on. They have great pizzas, great wraps. The pig porker sandwich is out of this world. And I go over there all the time for the chef salad. I know that kind of you roll your eyes at it, but I love it. It's loaded, man, whether it's turkey or ham or bacon or cheese or whatever. I mean, it's a great salad. So even when I feel like eating a little bit healthier, I go to Curly's Waterfront Sports Bar and Grill. Great place right there on Pewaukee Lake, Lakeview Boulevard, and they will be open on Sunday night if you want to go in and catch the Packers and the Chiefs too. So good stuff over there, and thanks to them for all that they do within the community as well. Mike, does anybody remember the name of the Packers DB that got called for holding several times in a game? They even had him wear boxing gloves in practice. Oh, he was one of the guys that said to Ed Hockley, when Hockley called him for a pass interference, I can't remember his name. God, I'm going to have to go back and look now.
Was that Ladarius Gunter? Who? I vaguely remember this boxing
I'm going to have to go back.
story.
I'm going to have to go back and take a look at it. But
it seems like something Kevin Holden might remember.
I was just going to say, Kevin Holden may know. Let's go to Kevin, who is now awake and alert. He's taking a 5-hour energy. He's standing on the balcony watching traffic go by. Kevin, how you doing, pal?
Man, what's funny is other than the 5-hour energy, every bit of that's right, and it's only because the coffee hasn't come out of the coffee maker yet.
Hey, I want to start by asking you first. Let's get Brewers talk because obviously you do the Brewers, the Deportes broadcasts. You follow baseball. Give me your thoughts on Craig Counsell leaving, the hiring of Pat Murphy, the bench coach that is Ricky Weeks, and where this team is at right now.
Yeah, this is what a crazy, change of direction from the end of the regular season. I don't know if anybody could have predicted pretty much any of this, but I think it starts with the idea that I don't think anyone could have predicted that Craig Counsell would literally switch sides of one of the big rivalries in baseball and end up on, in the Cubs dugout here starting in 2024. It's an interesting crossroads for the Brewers as a franchise because what's old is fading away very rapidly. And I don't want to call Craig Counsell old. I'm just saying he's part of the old guard, the old system now at this point. He's gone. And Pat Murphy was, his mentor, and Murphy is a tremendous baseball guy and a guy that the players have looked up to through the years. But I think the value of Pat Murphy right now is that his heyday, his best days as a coach were as a college coach. He won 1,000 games in college. And he did this, recruiting talent and bringing in talent and developing young men. And I think that is a little bit of a tell as to where the Brewers are about to head. Their strength down the road in the next couple of years is youth on offense. This is going to be all built around Garrett Mitchell and, Bryce Terang and hopefully Joey Weimer and Sal Frelick. And the Brewers are about to throw a whole lot of money at Jackson Chourio, who's not played a game for them yet. That's where they want their future to be. And I think Murphy's in the position he's in because he's good at developing young men and connecting with young men. I think that part will work out pretty well. Having Ricky Weeks on board is fun. The funniest thing that happened was in Murphy's introductory presser, he's kidding around with the media, making jokes with media members. And Ricky Weeks drops an inappropriate word in the presser that thankfully nobody was carrying live. What a difference, because you didn't get any of that from Craig Counsell. So right. At the very least, these next couple of years will be a lot of fun,
Yeah, I was saying that yesterday we were talking about this, and I thought, well, if Christian Yelich can come in and play first base and DH, you've got a strong young outfield that's controllable for a while. And if your DH and the power comes out of first base, then it makes Bryce Terang and his lack of bat at second base, but yet his defensive prowess much more acceptable if you have Adames at short. Then you just kind of really need to go after a third baseman and stack your pitching, right?
Yeah, and the pitching part is what's going to change for this Brewers team, because what they've had over the last 5 or 6 years is something that they haven't had traditionally in their history, which is 2, and if you count Peralta, 3 aces, true aces. And now Woodruff is gone with the injury, and the thought is that Corbin Burns will get swapped here in the offseason. So it'll, the pitching is going to turn over, and the Brewers will be back to where they've been, sort of mortals on the pitching front and looking for good pitching. So that's a question that is in constant need of an answer. Nobody on earth has enough pitching. The Dodgers, who have all the money in the world, are asking about Corbin Burns because they desperately need starting pitching. So that's the Brewers will be back in the same boat with everybody else. That'll be the part I think that we'll miss a lot. But offensively, there's a little bit of this that reminds me of 2006, 7, 8, when you had the young core, when Weeks was a young player and Ryan Braun was coming up, and Prince Fielder and Corey Hart, Jonathan Lucroy. And they were the basis of one of the more successful eras for this team. So I think good days are coming. I think that it may bottom out for a year or two while these young guys figure it out and they figure out pitching. But, I don't think the Brewers are headed for the 90s and 2000s. I think they'll flip this and be competitive pretty quickly.
Do you like Pat Murphy as the new manager?
I am a huge fan of Pat Murphy.
Yeah.
and there's a difference between the human being and the manager, right? I think Murphy will do what he needs to do, from a decision standpoint. I think he'll be fine. But so this is the day that comes to my mind. I think it was June 11th, the Telemundo broadcast. Craig Counsell was gone. His kid was graduating, and Murphy was the manager, and the Brewers got swept by the Oakland A's somehow. Just the worst team in the last decade. And they came in and they swept the Brewers. And Pat Murphy sat up there on the podium and answered questions after the game. And the accountability and the things that he was saying in that post-game press conference was terrific. And I guess I look at it differently because I'm looking for sound that I can run in the show. And he said things that I could say in a show that, look, this your performance from this weekend isn't acceptable. We have to change this. We have to, figure out what happens here and get back to being us, and so on and so forth. And Murphy was genuine. He was open. He was honest. I think that approach is going to help him with the community. It'll help him with, just what you hear and see from him in media, but I think it'll help him with players. I don't know if Pat Murphy's going to be hugely successful, but I think Pat Murphy is a good guy for this role in this moment. I think Brewers fans, if you don't like him, I think you will.
One thing before we flip over to Packers football, and I wanted to ask you the Cheerios deal. First of all, if you're a young kid and they're floating all that money out there, you would assume that he's going to take it, and then hopefully the Brewers benefit from that. But does that then, in your opinion, do you think because of what happened, and I said this a while ago after the whole council thing went down, I said something good PR-wise has to happen for this team. They have to spend some money. They have to do something. So they get rid of a couple of guys. They don't bring, Canna back, and you thought he would stay. And you're kind of like, what the hell are they doing? And then they're going to go after Cheerios. But do you think there's another free agent out there that they could pick up, whether it's a pitcher or a third baseman or both, that this team would do to say, look, Craig may be gone, but we're still all in on this thing. It's not just about the youth and controllable contracts. It's about, we believe we can win now, even with Pat Murphy and Ricky Weeks in their first year together.
I wouldn't mind seeing it at all. I'm 50-50 on whether it'll happen, but I wouldn't mind seeing it at all. I would not mind seeing somebody come back through. Third base is a position that comes immediately to mind because it was a patchwork for the Brewers for a lot of the year. That's going to be significant, but there are some guys out there in free agency, not long-term solutions necessarily, but guys the Brewers have that are, that they know about, guys like Eduardo Escobar, who was here before, who's in his mid-30s. Mike Moustakas is in his mid-30s. These guys are older, but they can provide a little bit of leadership for young players. And I think Matt Arnold set a very good precedent at the trade deadline last year by acquiring a specific type of player at the deadline. He got Carlos Santana, he got Josh Donaldson, and he got Mark Canna. Those guys were exactly what I'm describing. Later career, mid-30s veteran guys. Not solutions for 10 years, but guys that can help these young players understand, what goes on in the day-to-day grind and competing for a playoff spot and going on and winning in the playoffs. I think that's the kind of free agent you'll see. Maybe not Josh Donaldson, but someone like a Josh Donaldson who can, fill that role and help out. And then, the shortstop position could be anything from soup to nuts. If there's a trade involving Willie Adames, all bets are off. Then your free agent could be a shortstop too. But yeah, veteran leader. That's what I'd like to see.
Now I want to go over to the Packers. Big game coming up on Sunday night, obviously against Kansas City. And even though we both, Grant and I, have picked the Packers to lose this game and for the Kansas City Chiefs to cover the spread, what do you want to see out of this Packers team?
Two things that'll make me really excited for the last step. One, if Jordan Love's confidence can carry over game to game, because you can see them start to build it, but you also know when you've got a young offense, how one good game can make you feel maybe better than you should, and one bad game can make you feel worse than you should. So I hope it doesn't fall completely apart for them offensively, that Love continues to show signs of that growth, because that's going to be important in the last 5 games, especially if they're competing for a playoff spot. The other thing is health in the secondary, because the thought of a healthy and ready Jair Alexander, a healthy and ready Eric Stokes, healthy and ready Darnell Savage, all of those guys combined with what they've got already in that secondary could, I don't know if you're going to stop someone like Mahomes, but you could slow it down a little bit. And again, you're talking about building confidence, because the quarterbacks that they're going to face on the other end of Mahomes, man, this thing changes in a hurry. You're talking about the Giants and Buccaneers and Panthers. You're talking about Baker Mayfield and Bryce Young and whoever from Section 219 that the Giants are going to trot out in that Monday night game. I mean, it's, post Mahomes, it gets way easier for this defense. So it's, if you get confidence out of Love and health out of the defense, then I think this playoff idea is a legitimate idea. And it took me some time to wrap around it, but I think they can get there. If they're healthy, they have a chance to make it to the playoffs.
This game coming up, if you're going to say I've got 2 or 3 things that have to happen for the Green Bay Packers to win this game, what would that be?
Run the ball is with some sort of effectiveness. And I don't know exactly how that's going to look. Obviously, health is an issue there. If you have Aaron Jones and he's able to do it, that's one. Run the ball effectively. The other one is continue this trend, and this has been a very good trend, and I think a bit overlooked, of staying away from bad penalties and bad situations. And you would think that you wouldn't have to say that in the NFL, but it was something that affected the Packers in the first half of the year. And you notice in this run against the Lions, there weren't any of these 3rd and 6 in field goal ranges that turned into 3rd and 16 outside field goal range. All that stuff stopped. And I don't know exactly where that falls, if it's better coaching, players paying better attention, knowing the system better. Whatever that is, if that holds and they stay away from those bad penalties, don't shoot themselves in the foot, then they've got a shot at this. It's still Lambeau in December, and Mahomes has never been here in Green Bay. And everyone wants to talk about Taylor Swift. Like, I don't know. I kind of feel like they're lining up for the Packers,
Right? We had almost gone an entire show without even mentioning her name today. That was my goal. So only to get one Taylor Swift reference into the show today is not a bad way to go. So that's good stuff. Kevin, always great to talk to you. I'm glad you woke up from the deep sleep that you were in. Maybe it was one of the 7 dwarfs that came over and gave you a knock on the head. But regardless, glad to have you on board. And then, hey, are you going to be here next Saturday?
Oh man, I've made a bit of a mistake. We've got a trip to New York, my wife and I do, and we leave right before that event next Saturday. But anything you need for it, let me know. I can help you supply whatever you need. But okay. Man, I feel terrible. When you do that, I'm going to be watching the New York Islanders and trying to figure out the crazy accents over there.
Well, that's not a bad thing, especially if you can pronounce all the names. Then, you're one up on us, so not a bad way to go. Kevin, have a great holiday. We'll talk to you real soon, okay, pal?
Appreciate it, Bill. Thanks as always.
All right, buddy. There you go. Kevin Holden, CBS 58, joining us for a couple of minutes on the hotline, talking some Brewers, talking some Packers. Good stuff there. Dropping in a Taylor Swift. We had almost made it an entire show without even mentioning T Swift's name. That was my goal today. That was my goal. So almost not a bad way to go. Hey, I had mentioned it throughout the week, and I want to hit it again for those of you that didn't know. Our friends at the Irish Cultural Heritage Center, you hear me talk about them all the time. It's a great place. They put on great music, great shows, especially here at the holiday season. But on Thanksgiving, hackers got into their account and wiped them out. So to the tune of a lot of money. They are a not-for-profit. And one of the things that they said is if people want to make donations to the ICHC, that'd be great because as far as operating funds go, now the bank tells them they should be able to get their money back and they should be able to, move on, but they're not going to get it back for about 3 months and they've got bills to pay. So they said any help is help. So go to ICHC.net and look for the donate button. ICHC.net, look for the donate button. And it's the Irish Cultural Heritage Center. And in addition to that, if you want to go hear some great holiday music, or if you want to start to book your tickets now for Cynthian coming up the night before St. Patrick's Day, it is a great place. It's on West Wisconsin Avenue, just west of the Marquette campus. But it's a beautiful old eclectic building, beautiful old church. So, but they need your help. So if you can, you find it, whether it's $1, $5, $10, or $100, whatever, they need your help. So ICHC.net, click on the donate button. ICHC.net, and then click on the donate button and help them out. Give them a hand.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, ho, ho! I need a window.
Maybe it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Pella now, pay later.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offer ends 12/31/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Coming up in about 5 minutes, he's got the book. It's called Jerry Kramer, Run to Win, his Packers life from Lombardi to Canton. And the foreword from years ago was, the foreword was written by Jeremy Schaap. Years ago, his dad, Dick Schaap, had actually done a book on Lombardi and the Packers and such. And, the book has been just released not that long ago. And a lot of people that I know have read it, have looked at it, obviously. A lot of good pictures that are in here. Jerry was the one that had the CD that came out that was inside the locker room. And he was the one that put the recorder inside his locker when Lombardi would give speeches and talk to them. And then he had all these tapes for years, And he then went to every player. Bart wasn't real happy at the time that he found out Jerry was recording inside the locker room, but everybody gave the blessing to Jerry to say, hey, if you want to put this out and kind of, expound upon the greatness that was Vince Lombardi and the wisdom that he had, go ahead and do it, because it just raised the lore of Vince Lombardi. But Jerry has always been incredibly gracious, obviously a Packers Hall of Famer from the Lombardi legends, and we're going to talk with him coming up here in just a couple of minutes. So stay tuned as the Packer Hall of Famer Jerry Kramer is going to be joining us. So we're looking forward to that. By the way, from a great Green Bay Packer to a not so great Green Bay Packer, it was the guy that I was thinking of, as many of you on the live stream said. It was Ahmad Carroll, and Ahmad Carroll was the guy that was drafted by Ron Wolf. And Ahmad Carroll was the guy that kept grabbing. And I think they put boxing gloves on him, but I know he got into an argument with Ed Hockley. And Ed Hockley said something to him, and his response to Ed Hockley was, "Come on, dog." And Ed Hockley, because we had found out about this after the game, and Ed Hockley said, "What the hell does that mean?" So that was Ahmad Carroll. He wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, we'll say. So that's for sure. But I believe it was Ahmad Carroll. So, I'll never forget that. Never forget that. It was either Ron Wolf or Mike Sherman, because Ted Thompson wasn't there. It might have been Mike Sherman that drafted Ahmad Carroll, as a matter of fact, now that I think about it, because Ahmad Carroll was just before Ron Wolf. So yeah, that would have been Mike Sherman. But I'll never forget that. Ed Hockley standing in the tunnel explaining the back and forth that he and Ahmad Carroll had with one another, and it's overheard. And he said to me, "Come on, dog." And I said, "What? What the hell does that mean?" So, all right, coming up, the man himself, Jerry Kramer is going to join us. The book is called Run to Win. It was written by Bob Fox. My Packers Life from Lombardi to Canton. Jerry Kramer up next on the Bill Michaels Show. We'll be right back.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are on the practice field for the final time this week as they prepare for Sunday night's showdown against Kansas City. It is December, which means the weather is certainly going to start playing a factor in games this week. Forecast calling for temperatures to drop into the 20s and the chance for snow showers. Quarterback Jordan Love says it's just another thing you have to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that, you can't control. You just got to go out there and play. Try and just keep your mind on going and doing your job, playing a great game. But obviously it's a factor that's there. But the main thing is trying not to let it affect you. It's harder to play in the cold when it's, cold, snowing, your hands aren't as warm, things like that. So there's all these little factors that play into it, but it's a mental game. You just got to be able to be stronger than elements.
Final injury report due later this afternoon. Kick on Sunday is at 7:20. Turning the Badgers, they're going to find out where they're headed for bowl season on Sunday. Most projections have them playing in Nashville for the Music City Bowl on December 30th against a team from the SEC. Meanwhile, the transfer portal will officially open on Monday. So far, 2 Wisconsin players, quarterback Miles Burkett and center Dylan Barrett, have announced that they will be leaving the Badgers.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, it's game day for the Wisconsin volleyball team. They're going to face Miami tonight with a trip to the Sweet 16 on the line. Things get going at the Fieldhouse at 7. Meanwhile, Badger basketball team going to host number 3 Marquette tomorrow morning at the Kohl Center. Wisconsin's won 2 straight in the series, 3 of the last 4. Tip is at 11:30, and the Bucks will host Atlanta tomorrow night. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heilprin.
Welcome. Good to have you. Good to have you on board today. A special day today. No Mike Clemens, and the only shoes that can be filled for Mike Clemens, you got to go bigger. You go bigger, you go home. And the guy has a book out. It is called Jerry Kramer. It's written by Bob Fox. It's called Run to Win. And if you're watching on the live stream, there it is. My Packers life from Lombardi to Canton, the man himself. Good friend, Jerry Kramer, joining us on the hotline. Jerry, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. I seem to be aging a little bit. I'm not quite sure what that process is, but I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good to have you as always. So let me ask you this. Let's start out right away. When the thought of writing another book, you did Instant Replay years ago with Dick Schaap. This one, the foreword's written by Jeremy Schaap. But when you wanted to put this, all your thoughts into a book, tell me why.
Well, in the other books, we had talked a lot about football. And there were so many wonderful things that happened to me outside of football with George C. Scott and Dick Zanuck and on and on and on. And so some of the stories I thought were a great thrill for me to be in that position. And I just thought I would share them with the folks about that little portion of my life that they had no information about.
You know, it's in reading the book, and you and I have talked about this, but in reading the book, it reminds me that you get drafted, you're on your way to Green Bay, you get to Green Bay, and you thought at one point you might not even be with the team. Like, you go from being a guy that you were worried about even having a job and playing your way off the team to where you are today. Talk about that process, that early process.
Well, Coach Lombardi, the first year was very questionable about whether I would be there or not. And that was before Coach Lombardi arrived. And they had like 5 veteran guards. So my coach at the college all-star game had said, Jerry, you're probably not going to make that team in Green Bay, but you can play somewhere. So don't get discouraged. So I go to Green Bay and I'm whistling and looking over the fence and skipping and hopping around, waiting to be traded. And Scooter McLean was our coach at that time. And after a week or so, he calls me in and he goes, what is wrong with you? And I said, what do you mean, Coach? He said, well, you're looking over the fence. You're looking at this. You're paying attention to other things than football. Where's your mind? What are you thinking about? I said, well, Coach, I'm waiting to be traded. What do you mean you're waiting to be traded? Well, my college all-star coach told me I'd probably be traded. Well, I didn't draft you to trade you. You're starting. So he started me, and we traded 2 guards to the New York Giants, and they started for the New York Giants. So that we got over that hump, and then the season was a long and difficult season. It was a 1-10-1 season, which wasn't a lot of fun. And the folks in Green Bay didn't appreciate it very much. Green Bay, of course, is a small town, and everybody knows you. And if you go in and have a beer or something, everybody in town knows you're having a beer. And so anything you do is kind of maybe underground, but it's discussed by most of the folks in that neighborhood. They're great fans, but they want their teams to win, and they want their teams to want to win. They want them to be a certain type of person. So then the Coach Lombardi era started, and that was a whole new beginning for me. I remember the first time he really got my attention and focused on me. I was in a scrimmage, and I missed a block. And about 5 plays later, I jumped off sides. And he came running across the field to the scrimmage area, and he got about 3 inches from my nose. And he said, Mister, concentration period of a college student's 5 minutes, high school is 3 minutes, kindergarten is 30 seconds, and you don't have that. So where's that put you? Well, it put me checking my shoe shine.
Oh,
I'm looking at my shoes and the grass and the worms and the bugs and wondering what I'm going to do next. And practice ends pretty quickly after that. And I go up to the locker room and shuck my shoulder pads off and my helmet, put my elbow in my hand, elbow on my knee, chin in my hand. And I'm thinking about what I'm going to do next. Am I going to go home to Idaho, or is there a chance to play for somebody else? Or I've been there 45 minutes to an hour deep in thought and really down on the bottom of the bucket. And the coach walks in from the exercises he was doing with the wide receivers and Bart, and he sees me down at the end of the locker room. So he comes down and he slaps me on the back of the neck and pushes my shoulders and messes up my hair. And he said, son, one of these days you're going to be the best guard in football. And it was like a shot of adrenaline. It was like just a medical shot that just ran a lightning bolt through my system. And it gave me a dream, and it gave me a mission, and it gave me so much confidence in myself, thinking that he believed in me and he was willing to say that. So he had a dramatic impact on my life.
When you think about the talent that you played with, and everybody had an effect on everybody else, from Bart Starr to Paul Hornung to Max McGee, Fuzzy Thurston, Skoronsky, Nitschke. I mean, I can go through that whole list. Who affected you, or how did you affect others, Jerry? Because in this book, you talk about all these guys and the experiences that you had with them. Who do you look at? I mean, who do you look at and go, you know what? This was the guy, or these were the guys that affected my life the most.
Well, I guess probably it was my offensive line guys. It was Ringo or Bobo at center, and it was Fuzzy, of course. He and I ran that suite together for many years. And, of course, Forrest Gregg was right next to me, and Bob Skoronsky on the other side. So we had a wonderful offensive line, and we pulled for one another and coached one another and enjoyed one another and had a friendship as well as a professional relationship. And Hornung was always a kick in the pants, and Max McGee with his quick wit, Ron Kramer with his antics. We used to have a beer every once in a while with Ron, and you'd look over and he'd have the glass balanced on his head, and he's down the dance floor dancing with a glass on his head. So everybody had a respect for the team and for the organization, and wanted to make a contribution. It was a tight-knit, close football team and a close bunch of guys who were having a wonderful experience. And we just wanted so much to support the team and to be a positive impact on the team that was our main thoughts and our main objective, is to not bring the team down, to not cause them difficulties. And Coach Lombardi agreed with that philosophy wholeheartedly. And he was the master at the attitude and your feelings, your emotions. He played us like a flute sometimes, up and down, but he created an energy with that emotion. Once he got you high, then he praised you. He never would give you a chewing and leave. He always came back to you after practice or after the meeting or after whatever the situation was, and then pumped you up a little bit. So it was so difficult and so distasteful to be chewed in front of the team, that when he told you the good part and told you could be a player and you could really make a difference, it was like a release from prison, kind of, that it was a wonderful thing. And you never wanted him to chew you that way again. So you gave every ounce of effort and every ounce of ability you had to avoid Coach Lombardi's wrath.
Did you realize, I mean, obviously not at the time, but as the years went on, you guys were young, you guys grew up together, you grew into your own personalities together, but you guys also went through a lot. I mean, you tell the story about how, Bart, you weren't sure if Bart was even going to be the leader of the team. And then he had a conversation with Lombardi, and then he ended up getting punched in the mouth down in Chicago. And all of a sudden the respect starts to brim. But you guys dealt with stuff on the field. You dealt with certainly a lot of stuff off the field with the personalities. You even dealt with race relations going back, because Lombardi wanted to make sure everybody lived harmoniously. So you guys dealt with so much and were pioneers in so much, Yeah,
we did have 4 or 5 quarterbacks early on, and Bart was the quiet guy. Bart was confident, he was intelligent, he was not a long ball thrower, but he was a very accurate thrower. And I remember one of our first games where we were playing the Giants in the 62 championship, and I was kicking, and I was nervous about being in Yankee Stadium, in the home of legends and so many wonderful sporting events and boxing events and on and on and on. And so I was kicking, and I hadn't done a lot of kicking at that point, but it was pretty emotional. So I made a point of keeping my head down and following through and looking up late, if at all. So I kicked one early from about 25, 30 yards out, and the wind was blowing maybe 40 miles an hour. So when I looked up, the ball was outside the goal post, and the official had his arms in the air signaling good. And I said, "What the hell is he doing?" And Bart was standing there close to me when I said that, and he looked at me and he said, "Shut up and get off the field." And I said, "Yes, sir." "Yes, sir." So he did the same thing down in Chicago in the first game when Bill George hit him in the mouth and cut his lip, and he's bleeding like a stuck hog. And I said, "Bart, you better go get sewed up." He said, "Shut up and get in the huddle." So Bart came of age on the field, and he was a wonderful ball player and a beautiful human being.
When later in the book, and I know we only have a few minutes left, but later in the book, you talked about things off the field. You talked about encounters with celebrities. You talk about, your charitable work and everything that you've done, not just in Green Bay, but things that you've done back in Boise, things you've done all over the country, getting involved with the Lombardi Legends. I mean, so many things that you have done outside of football, but that window allowed you to kind of enter. That football window allowed you to enter all of that. And you also address all of that in the book.
Yeah, it was a fun part of the situation. It was unexpected. My father used to read poetry to us when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, and I enjoyed poetry. And I used to read to Jimmy and Willie once in a while, and we were having a game against Chicago. Now I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. You were talking about celebrities and charity and people you've met and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So the Rod McEwen thing was, we were having dinner one night in LA, and he said, "Jerry, Frank Sinatra is doing a double album of my poems tonight. Would you like to go hear him record?" And I goes, "Live? He's in the studio?" "Yeah, he's just about 5 minutes from here." I said, "I'd love to hear Sinatra record. I'm one of his biggest fans. I love his music." So we got up and went over to the studio, and Frank was singing a song called "Two Can Dream a Dream Together." And he's going, "Two can dream a dream together. Two can dream a dream together. Two can dream a dream together." And I think he's beating it up a little bit. And so when he comes over to say hello, we shake hands and say hello. And I said, "Frank, you got to lighten up on that song." I said, "You're beating the hell out of it." And he looked at me. He looked at me and he said, "What?" I said, "That's a beautiful thought. Two can dream a dream together. You got to lighten up on it a little bit." He puts his left hand out about 8 inches from my nose and makes a circular motion for about 15 or 20 seconds and erases me. So
yeah,
I stand there for a minute with my mouth hanging open, wondering what I'm going to do next. And then it hits me that I have just tried to give one of the all-time great singers in the history of the world a tip. And was that a little inappropriate? Well, possibly. It's possible. But I was a big Sinatra fan, and I thought I was helping him out, and I was giving him just a little information. So that was a fun thing to look back on. And Dick Zanuck came over to me one night down in Acapulco. We were down for New Year's Eve and celebrating, and "Jerry, would you like to come up to my father's New Year's Eve party tonight?" And I look at him, and I know Darrell F. Zanuck. I know the name, and I know his history. And I said, "Gee, I got 3 or 4 guys with me, and I couldn't leave them alone." And, "Well, bring them with you." Well, hell, we'd love to go to your father's New Year's Eve party. So we headed up that way about 9:00 and had a wonderful evening. Helen Gurley Brown, David Brown, Dick Zanuck, and his wife Joanne were there, and the big man is there. And so we have a few drinks and have dinner and tell a few stories. And about 1:00 we start breaking up. And I've got a friend there with me named Bob Rose, who has a 55-foot Chris down in Acapulco Bay, and he's a Santa Monica guy. So he says, hey, why don't we go sailing in Acapulco Bay? And it was a big moonlit night, a monster moon, and it was a soft, gentle breeze, and the water was flat, and the wine was good, and everything seemed to be fine. So we decided to go sailing in Acapulco Bay. And we sailed till 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And Dick said, Jerry, I got to get back to the house. I got a lot of stuff to do, and I got to get back to L.A. And so we went back in, and when I went through, Dick left to go back to the studios and work. And I went through L.A. when I left Acapulco, and I called Dick, and I said, Dick, can I take you to lunch or dinner? You and your wife, friends, whoever. I just had a wonderful time. He gave us the use of his complex. When he left Acapulco, we moved in and stayed an extra 2 weeks. So ended up having a great time. And he goes, Jerry, I am just really up against it, and I've got a lot of stuff I got to do. And why don't you come out to the studio and we'll have lunch at the commissary? I said, okay, if that works for you. Well, Helen Gurley or David Brown was there with him, and David took me aside and said, Jerry, we're making a movie about a sheriff down in Tennessee who kind of cleans up the town with a baseball bat. And we think you might fit that role. Would you be interested? And of course, it was Walking Tall.
Right.
And I'm looking at some of the most powerful men in Hollywood and the history of the family and everything, and it intimidates me. And I start stuttering and making excuses. Oh no, I've got to this, and I got to that, and I've got an autograph session, and on and on and on. And I made a bunch of excuses, and did not take a shot at the movie, and that's one of the regrets. Dick was just, and Joanne and David and everybody was just sensational about being easy to talk to and friendly and, you know, taking care of us and whatever. But I just was intimidated a little bit by the whole situation, by Hollywood.
Yeah.
So I begged off and went on about my business, and I regretted that meeting and that response that I gave them ever since.
Jerry, it is always a pleasure. I love you like a brother. You know that from all the times we've had a chance to chat. The book is called Run to Win, My Packers Life from Lombardi to Canton. All these stories are in here. If I let you go without telling you this, I would be remiss. But my buddy Joe, you know Joe Hennis, he would rip my face off if he didn't say hi, and I didn't say hi for him. But he's listening and wanted to give you a big shout out for all that you do and all that you've done for them. And you're a really good friend, and they say thanks for having them as a part of your life as well. But we wish you nothing but the best, Jerry.
Thank you very much, and thank Joe for me. He's a great guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Jerry, we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon, okay? Have a great holiday season.
Thank you.
All right, buddy, there you go. That is the great. I could sit and listen to Jerry. I have had, and I know we're woefully late because our breaks are going to back up, but there was, Favre was still here. They had not drafted Rodgers yet, so early 2000s. I had first come and been a part of the network, but I think I'd been here maybe a year or two. And it was a preseason game. Jerry was in town. And it's before the renovation of Lambeau Field. And so Jerry had come up by the press box. And then Brian Noble and I walked down with Jerry back in the smaller, little suite things that they had at the time. And it was Jerry, Brian, and I. And we just sat there and listen to Jerry talk. And now Brian was a player. I mean, he was in those locker rooms. He's been on that field. Brian and I just sat there, and we'd ask a question, and 5 minutes later, you'd be done with this story. And not only was it completely Jerry opening up the way he just did, but it was like you were his best friend. And we'd always had a great relationship, but I'll never forget that. It was one of the first times I'd ever met Jerry, and it was like he treated you like you were his brother. And from that moment on, it always had. And I know many of you who are chiming in right now, you have met Jerry in one way, shape, or form and feel the exact same way. But you could just sit there and listen to all the detail and all of the quotes. And he's incredibly well-spoken and incredibly well-read, and just an amazing ambassador for all that was Lombardi and all the success, the majority of success that a lot of those guys had, where they took the lessons Lombardi gave them on the field and they then matriculated that through their lives off the field. And it's a special group of people at a special moment in time, led by a special man that groomed them all to be special people. I could just sit there and listen to him for hours and hours and hours. The great Jerry Kramer. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, ho, ho! I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no, pay later.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offer ends 12/31/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you, man. Great stuff from Jerry Kramer. Great stuff. You can always listen to it. Go back again. Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts. You can rewatch the program over on YouTube as well. Great stuff. And if you're watching on the live stream, you see it. Sloppy Joe's and Smoke on the Water on Okachi Lake. Both fine places to go. But coming up next weekend, Friday and Saturday, the 8th and the 9th, they have got the Christmas concert that is going to turn into a rock concert both nights, and proceeds are going to benefit Fisher House, Wisconsin. I'm going to be there on Friday night and cannot wait. Zeno and Joe, and they're going to crank out the music and Christmas carols, traditional, and then rock the house. And for one price, you walk through the door, you get like a champagne glass, and you get a couple of beverages, and they're going to have heavy apps all night long. And then you got, drinks and such after the fact, but we got music, and it's just going to be a great event. And not to mention, if you come out and you join us, the proceeds go to Fisher House, Wisconsin. We do this because not only is it a great event and you get to hear some Christmas music and have a lot of fun, but then again, we're also helping veterans, military members, and their families. So they're putting their money where their mouth is, their heart where their thoughts are. And that is Smoke on the Water on Okachi Lake. And that's Johannes, who I was talking about before, to say hi to Jerry Kramer. But if you want more information, go to the Smoke on the Water BBQ Okachi on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram, or just go Smoke on the Water. Just Google it and give them a call and say, hey, I want to get some tickets. And they still have some tickets available for both Friday and Saturday's edition. They're selling fast, but they still have some available. And we'll see you there, because we're bringing a whole table and a half of friends and people that we want to go to this. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to MC some stuff on Friday night, but we're going to have a great time. So if you want to come out, hang with us, have great music, have some sing-alongs and such, it's going to be a fun time. Smoke on the Water, Okachi Lake. I know we went late, so we want to hear from Adam Stenovich coming up. So we're going to get into that. However, it's interesting. On the Brewers beat, Adam McCalvey just posted this, but he had a complex conversation with Pat Murphy, talking about going to the winter meetings, talking about all the travel that he's been doing, and then coming back. He said Murphy said it's complex. There's a lot of things going on. Now, this was on part of the Unfiltered podcast. There's a lot of collaboration between the front office, field personnel, and all the people that are involved in the performance and the player development. We're smoothing the lines, if you will, as he said. So that's what's going on. Then personnel who fit our club, that's talked about a whole bunch. Then the systems, how those systems are going to work during the year and how we're going to operate day to day. All of that now is being discussed long and hard. And Murphy kind of went through detailed discussions a couple of weeks ago with the coaching staff, which is returning in its whole, and along with Ricky Weeks. So everybody has a defined role. Everybody knows what they're doing. He said it's a team effort. It really is. And it's not just staying still. We're trying to tweak things. We're trying to adjust things. We're trying to make things flow a little bit smoother, like we do every year. We're discussing as much as we can. We're all excited. It's a new time, but we are all highly, highly excited. And that is Pat Murphy on the Unfiltered podcast regarding the Brewers. You can go there and check it out with Adam McCalvey and company. Let's do this. We'll get back into some Packers stuff coming up. Adam Stenovich, the offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, he spoke. We want to hear as much of that as we possibly can. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
In the second half, it goes down to who wants it more. There's no, I mean, you can have play designs, but for the most part, you're off your script, picking at plays here and there. And Coach Reason put us in the best possible position, and Coach Nagy. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you got to go out there and just want it. In the second half of football games, it's about who wants it, and how can you go out there and execute at a high enough level to win it.
There you go. Those are the words of Patrick Mahomes coming into the game this Sunday night. And no, we are not going to hear from Adam Senovich. We are going to hear from our own Mike Clemens, who got out of the luncheon. He is probably hammered at this point, but we figured we'd talk to him. What the hell? Mike, how you doing, buddy?
No, those are the top 40 jocks from the 60s and 70s that are already, hammered.
Okay.
Old-fashioned flying here, man, like cups of milk. But, yeah, I'm down at the Saz's. So, Homer's here. I said hi to him and Steve Palick and all those guys.
Oh, there
they
you go.
say hello to. So, here's the deal. Jaden Reed did get on the practice field. That's number 11. That's the wide receiver. So much talent, such a smart kid. And Bill, on the post-game show, we talked to you that they lost that close game to the Steelers with the ball in their hand. And you walk in the visitors' locker room, and there's 5 or 6 of these young receivers of the Packers all sitting in folding chairs in a tight, close circle and, having some kind of a meeting. And it was like an instant breakdown of what the hell went wrong in that game. And so when we got back to Green Bay, it's like, what was that all about? And Jaden Reed said, like after the Vikings game, some of the frustration here, it's like, how do we get on the same page? They've been getting together every Tuesday. That's their only day off. These rookies from Romeo Dobbs and Watson and the rest of these guys, they're getting together and having these receivers meetings. And so I asked Jaden Reed, what are they getting out of them?
Definitely like meeting on Tuesdays with each other. Like I said, we've been doing that the past few weeks. I want to say we started it Minnesota week maybe. And I just think that helped tremendously, just us understanding where everyone is coming from. We're seeing everything from the same eye when we go out there and play our opponent. And that's definitely, I think, is the main reason we show development. The way we prepare, we practice hard. We feel much better executing. Small little penalties aren't happening as much anymore. So it's definitely that.
Mike, it's interesting because the Packers come off a big win against Detroit, and now they're facing the defending champions. A lot of these young guys have never done that.
No, nothing like that. Reed, by the way, I think he's got a rib injury. They're listing in his chest. He don't want to go into it, but he said he needs those days off just to be the best he can be for Sunday night. But, with Luke Musgrave, 88, was off to such a great start. Now, lacerated kidney, who knows if he's back before the season's over with, is Tucker Kraft, the kid out of South Dakota, number 85. And, the touchdown reception against the Lions, the excitement in this locker room. And so we've learned about this a couple of years ago. George Kittle, Mercedes Lewis, these other tight ends, they get together. Robert Tonyan was there when he was with Green Bay. It's in Nashville. It's every spring. And so Tucker Kraft found out from his agents, hey, we're going to get you into that tight end seminar. And he talked about when he got to meet Travis Kelce.
I was going up there, and the first time I met him, he just walked into the elevator with me, and I, rookie from small town South Dakota, I was like, oh, you're Travis Kelce. I thought that was pretty cool. Just my first time ever meeting him, dapping him up in an elevator. It was awesome. I literally said that to him. I'm like, oh, man, you're Travis Kelce. I step on the field. I don't take away from any moment. We played against the Broncos, and I was out there on the field warming up. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's Russell Wilson. I don't, I'm a fangirl until the whistle blows. I'm not going to take away from anyone's individual success. Those guys are great players, and they leave legacies, and so it's awesome to be able to meet them.
Mike, that being said, this offense now, it started to really flow against Detroit. Now the question is, can they do it against the top 3 ranked defense in the National Football League?
And even though you've got such a young team that seems to have found some confidence, like you even said earlier in the show, hell, Green Bay's won 3 of their last 4. You're even seeing it from the younger coaches like Adam Stenovich in his second year as offensive coordinator, and him talking to these players about the challenge on Sunday night.
Whether times are good or times are bad, you just have to stay even-keeled. You have to be honest about what's happening out there. That's the biggest thing is you talk about just trusting the process, evaluating the film, talking about corrections, correcting errors, no matter if you win or lose. It's great. Obviously, we've won the last 2 games, but, we got the Chiefs coming into town Sunday Night Football, defending Super Bowl champs. So you can't really look back. You always have to look forward. And whether we would have lost the last game or won the last game, doesn't matter. We're just worried about going 1-0 this week and, playing a really tough opponent.
And, he's right. I mean, they got to be able to kind of play big boy football now. And, to the opposite side of the coin, the defense has to, it's got to be as good, if not better, because they got to figure out a way not only contain Travis Kelce, but the young wide receiver and Patrick Mahomes and not allow him to kind of improvise.
Right. And, the game plan for the season was Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes on the corners. And you've been getting by with these rookies covering these teams the last couple of months. Now it's going to be their greatest challenge against a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. Joe Barry, when we were in Cincinnati, covered the preseason game, Bengals against the Packers, And I told you about 5 minutes before the kick, what's Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator, doing there getting a bowl of Skyline? And then I realized he ain't going to be down on the field. He's going to the coach's box, which was something different. And so we asked Joe Barry, all right, since you've been up top, do you think you're a better defensive coordinator in game?
I mean, I will answer it in the sense that I've told you guys from the very first time, I really do enjoy being up there calling the game. So many other, elements to the game that you can have when you're up there compared to, now there's parts of it that I miss too. The interaction with guys, being able to grab an iPad and go down and sit next to Dre and draw something up with them. But yeah, I think it's been a great experience and I love it. I'd like to think that it's not I'd like to think if I was, 2021, we won 13 games and I was on the sideline. So.
Yeah, well, it's obviously helped a little bit. I mean, their numbers are just that much better. So, now the question becomes for all the people that are out there wanting to see Joe Barry fired, what are the feelings right now? Because the defense has not been, for the most part of the season, the problem.
No, and the defense, this defense has kept these teams at 20 points or less and been blown out yet. But, people, unless your defense is creating turnovers, getting interceptions, scoring touchdowns, ripping the helmets off of quarterbacks, they're bloodthirsty and they want more. So you ask Joe Barry, what do you think about when you see things like hashtag fire Joe Barry?
I've had this conversation with you guys before, and I've tried to paint the picture that, everything goes into that 4-hour block on game day. Literally every, minute of the day. Monday through Saturday. And it's for everybody involved, not only people calling the game, but people playing the game, the coaches, everybody, fans. It's hard when things don't go well in that 4-hour block on Sundays. But that's what the league is. That's what makes the National Football League so great. And yes, to answer your question, it's, I think it's incredibly satisfying for everybody involved when you do win a football game, because it's hard to win games in the National Football League. It's hard.
Mike, I know that being up in the booth, obviously it comes with a lot of, different attention, so to speak. So, but Joe Barry seems to have, kind of gotten comfortable up there.
Yeah, but one thing that's weird is, if you watch these games, particularly the prime time games, now they got these cameras up there in the coaches' boxes. And so somebody said, now that you're up top there, are you ever worried about being on TV during a game?
Yeah, I just always, I saw, what game was I watching? There was one game the other week. God, I think it was the Jets. It might have been Nathaniel. And it literally looked like the camera was right on us. And I was like, oh my God, I hope that's not, can you so, but yeah, it's all good.
Mike, always good. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick. We got one more? No, let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick. Yeah. We do have one more. Let's take a quick break. We'll come right back. We'll get back to you. We'll round things out with you. Mike Clemens on the line, chatting with us. He's at a luncheon, but still coming in doing the job. Good stuff with Mike Clemens. We got more coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no, pay later. Oh.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offer ends 12/31/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
I just think it's a complete football team in every phase. They're one of the top in the league, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams. So presents a lot of challenges. Certainly their ability to get to the quarterback's been big for them. Like I mentioned yesterday, Spags does an unbelievable job of giving you some tough looks from an offensive perspective. They do a really good job of keeping a lid on the secondary and not allowing a bunch of explosive plays.
Welcome back. Packers getting ready to take on the Chiefs coming up on Sunday night at Lambeau Field. Sunday Night Football will be in the house, and a lot of excitement for this game on really for both fan bases. Packers looking to extend what they did in Detroit and to win yet again to keep their name relevant when it comes to the postseason. Meanwhile, Kansas City, they're looking to keep pace with the top-notch with the Ravens really over there in the AFC. So a lot riding on this contest this coming weekend. Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline. And Mike, this is kind of a coming home party, if you will, a little bit for Andy Reid too, isn't it?
Bill, in 1999, when Holmgren went out to the Seattle Seahawks, what if the Packers had said, hey, wait, this young quarterback coach is pretty good. What if they'd hired Andy Reid instead of letting him get out the door and take over the Eagles and turn around that program instead of hiring Ray Rhodes? Maybe Brett Favre would have gotten back to that second Super Bowl, right? So Andy Reid comes back to Green Bay, and he got a lot of questions this week about, because they know this guy's going to the Hall of Fame now. And they said to him, hey, Andy, so Mike Holmgren's at BYU and on his way to the 49ers and then come to Green Bay, and he called you down to Missouri offensive line coach and brought you to Green Bay. How'd that happen?
Yeah, so, this is corny, but he said, I promise you I'm going to hire you someday. And so he did. Well, it was a good opportunity. I mean, I worked for Mike Holmgren for the 7 years, and I had a hard time believing anybody did it better, and I still feel that way. So he was a great head football coach, a great offensive mind. So I was very fortunate to get into that situation. I knew him from BYU and where he was coaching the quarterback. So professionally, it was easy. Personally, it was tough because of the relationships I had with the Missouri staff.
So it's going to be a kind of a homecoming for Andy. It's going to be the first time that Patrick Mahomes has ever played at Lambeau Field. And apparently your connection out in Hollywood says that all the reporters from everywhere are coming to Lambeau Field on Sunday night as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike.
Turns out the paparazzi have these agencies, just like subscriptions, like news services. And he said, absolutely. They're going to be out there all over Austin Straubel Airport, Lambeau Field, waiting for Taylor Swift to arrive, take pictures of that, and make it all the big story that it'll be, because it gets ratings, it gets eyeballs. Hey, Mark, say hi to Bill. Say hi, Bill. Hi, Bill.
Mark.
That's Mark. We're on the air. We're doing a show right now. Yeah. Real radio? That's amazing. They still do that?
It's still over the air and it still sounds good.
See, that's the voice of American Family Field. We got all the broadcasters. We got Gregory John from your station in Milwaukee, WOKY here. Got Marky here, Chris Moore, Dick Alpert. You worked with him, right?
Yeah, Dick was a great guy. Yeah. Not that he's dead, but he still is.
No, and here's one more. Steve the Homer True is here.
Oh, boy.
Long-time sports guy here. And he said, what are you doing here? And I said, talking to Bill and kicking your ass.
I love it. Mike goes to battle even at a luncheon. That's awesome. That's great stuff.
All right. I'm going to go get another beer. Talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later. There you go. That's the great Mike Clemens, who was not even scheduled to be on the program today. Mike said, I'm going to take the day off. I'm going to go to this luncheon. And not only does Mike, show up, but then he has cuts. And he has sound from the locker room that he uses. The guy is always working, always working. Anything else to add to this week, Grant? We've had a run of damn near everything this week.
Well, I suppose since Kevin Holden brought it up and you guys mentioned it, Matt LaFleur at his press conference says that he has heard Taylor Swift is coming. That's what he's heard. So
okay.
I didn't want to bring it up, but you guys kind of hinted at it in your conversation. Clemens is unbelievable. He called me over the break and I said, oh, hey, Mike, what's up? You want something to pass along to Bill? He goes, oh, no, I sent audio for 2 segments, standing by, ready to go. I'm like, what? What? All right.
Mike, I told you this at the beginning of the week. Mike came to my house and unexpectedly. And Mike came in, starts to look around. He's looking at all the Christmas decorations. He never sat down. So I think the whole time he's just going to be in and out. He said, yeah, I got to get going. An hour later, Mike says, I guess I better get going. So just out of the blue, man.
Midwestern.
Yep. Got to make time. A reminder, we're going to be at Burkle's 1 block over coming up on Sunday night, immediately following Kansas City and Green Bay and the contest that is at Lambeau Field. Sunday night football coming up, and it should be a blast. I'm hoping for the best for the Green Bay Packers. We'll be talking about maybe some sort of a heightened awareness of the postseason coming out of this game on Sunday night in one way, shape, or form. I'm not even saying if the Packers have to win for that to happen, but just to play some good football. So that's what we're kind of hoping for. You got Bucks basketball this weekend, the big one, college basketball. Marquette traveling to the Kohl Center coming up tomorrow. You got Washington and Oregon coming up tonight in the Pac-12 conference finals. You've also got all of the other conference finals going on tomorrow. So a good weekend for college football. Then you got a lot of NFL stuff going on Sunday, leading up to the Sunday night contest between the Packers and the Chiefs. And then we're going to be right back here talking about it after the game, immediately following the game. We'll be at Burkle's 1 block over. Come by and say hi, and then back here on Monday. Hell of a week. And my God, Jerry Kramer was good. If you want to go back and listen to 30 minutes of Jerry Kramer hanging out with us today, you can find it on Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts as well. And don't forget, you can always find the program and rewatch it over on YouTube. Thanks to everybody for